Hello, beautiful people of the internet. My name is Ryan. Welcome to the lore stream for Dark Souls. We're going to watch a lore video. Shout out to Zach in our chat, who has found this 2-hour and 12-minute long video that mostly does not include any spoilers for Dark Souls 2 or 3. However, there are a couple places in the video that it mentions Dark Souls 3 stuff. I have timestamps of stuff to skip over here so that I can go into Dark Souls 3 someday completely blind. When I do reaction videos like this, I never monetize my video, and I want to give a huge shout out to the person who made the original content, without whom I could not be sitting here reacting and trying to provide my own insight or my own experience to it. Shout out to the Brothers Code for their Dark Souls story explained video. That video will be the top link in the description below. Please go watch it if you have any interest at all, and check out the Brothers Code for their other videos. So. Like I said, I'll link it down below for sure. Absolutely, 100%. So we're going to do the lore of Dark Souls. It's a 2-hour long video. We've got about an hour and a couple minutes to make it happen. Apparently, they speak slowly. So Zach said to watch it on 1.5 speed. So here we go. Dark Souls 1, lore. I need to hit play. Age of Ancients, Chapter 1.
In the Age of Ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog, a land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. A concise yet effective way to describe the world prior to the introduction of fire. A monotone world of dread and anguish, one that is void of any essence of life. The Age of Ancients was ruled by powerful, everlasting dragons, known to possess impenetrable armor in the form of...
Oh, we're going back to the very beginning. Hell yeah. Buckle up, grab a drink, let's do it.
Stone scales, which provided the dragons with immortality. The dragons ruled over all that resided in the Ashen Land, and they did so peacefully, as the truth is, there was no opposition. The world was stagnant.
I've totally forgotten to mention this at this point. If you're watching this on YouTube, you may have no idea who I am. My name is Ryan. I play video games blind, aka with no help, or with very, very, very little help. I don't use the wiki. I don't look up online information. I even play the game in offline mode. We just finished a marathon playthrough of Dark Souls Remastered, my first of the Dark Souls games, which you can also find if you're at all interested. And this, I hope, is going to answer many, many, many of the questions that I have written in my whole ass notebook, including, is fire the problem? Lots of questions. Are the dragons really gone? WTF is framped? Could Solaire have been saved? We just got the answer to that one. Solaire sort of could have been saved, and I did not manage to do it. But yeah, that's what we're doing.
Describe it as inanimate, as no life could be found, nothing lived nor died. There was no progress or conflict.
He murdered Dusk, dear YouTube viewer. I did. I am not beating the allegations.
The world simply existed. For the longest time, life remained nothing more than a shade of grey, a dull existence with no hope or purpose, until one day a miraculous event took place, one that would change the course of time and usher in a new age that would collapse the rules of the old world and create a perpetual conflict that would last until the end of time. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity, heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. From far within the deepest cavern known to Earth, fire ignited, forming the first flame, and with it introducing life to a world stripped of it. Yearning for warmth, 4 primitive creatures began revealing themselves, emerging from the underground caves that they called home. They were drawn towards the flame, urging them to travel to the origin of the fire. To their surprise, from within the kiln of the first flame, emerged souls of lords. Extremely
Is this too fast of a speed for you guys, or is this okay? The person speaking. I watch a lot of stuff at about this speed. If it's not for you, I understand. But is this an okay speed, or is this too hard to understand?
Powerful souls that granted those who harbored them immense power. The beings decided to possess the souls themselves. One of the souls was claimed by Nito. His soul turned him into the representation of sickness and death, rearranging his form into a combination of skeletons held together. Nito is referred to as the first of the dead. This hints at
first of the dead. I'm good. It's horrible. Ooh, let's try 1.25 real quick. We'll try it.
The possibility of Nito being the first creature to experience death, as before the igniting of the flame, nothing lived or died. Nito's soul states the following: Grave Lord Nito administers the death of all manner of beings. The power of his soul is so great that it satiates the Lord Vessel, despite the fact that much of its energy has already been offered to death. The description of the soul indicates that Nito's only purpose is to administer death to the world. He is the balance put in place to complement the creation of life,
much better,
as
for
without
sure.
death, there is no value to life. The second soul was claimed by the Witch of Izalith, and was split with her 7 daughters of chaos. The third soul
She has 7? Okay, we got Our Fair Lady, Quelaag, and Quilana, but 7 Daughters of Chaos? Holy shit!
was taken by Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight. When he found the Lord Soul, Gwyn's legion of knights were present. This indicates that Gwyn likely held power before obtaining the Lord Soul, although it's unclear what power or influence one would have under the rule of dragons. However, now with the Lord Soul at Gwyn's disposal, he would wield the power of generating lightning, something that would prove useful at a later point. The fourth and final soul was the Dark Soul, which was obtained by the furtive pygmy, who is described as a primeval.
So this is how the furtive pygmy from the intro comes into the lore. Where are the legends of old? Nito, Gwyn, and Nito, Gwyn, the witches, and the furtive pygmy.
Human, likely the ancestor to the humans we know today, the progenitor to the human race. His Lord Soul was a small black ember, distinctly different from the other Lord Souls, and the pygmy ensured that the existence of the soul remained unknown to others. The Dark Soul granted the pygmy the ability to fragment it, and use its capabilities to create humanity. This black sprite is called humanity, but little is known about its true nature. If the soul is the source of all life, then what distinguishes the humanity we hold within ourselves? The description of humanity questions its unclear nature, and confirms.
This is perfect because one item on my list is humanity a spectrum? Is it a currency? What does it mean in the world?
The soul to be the source of life, rather than humanity itself. This aligns with the fact that every being from lords to demons have souls. However, not all beings possess humanity. With this knowledge, we can assume that although the soul is what grants life, humans possess both the soul and humanity, giving them a unique identity.
Oh, we're getting down to the very basics of we're getting down to the very basics of the building blocks of this world. All beings have souls, but only some of them have humanity, right? Yes.
From lords to demons have souls. However, not all beings possess humanity. With this knowledge, we can assume that although the soul is what grants life, humans possess both the soul and humanity, giving them a unique identity, separating them from all beings in existence. Whilst the gods depend on the first flame for power, humans inherit power from the consumption of humanity, signified by the reversing of a person's hollow stature back to human form. The power of humanity is fueled by the willpower and perseverance of the being possessing it. It empowers those who refuse to give up. The subdued nature of its power is why humanity was overlooked by the lords, as they desired quantifiable power, something that they could possess instantly. Humanity was passed down to the descendants of the furtive pygmy, and helped shape humans into what they are now. The furtive pygmy is theorized to be Manus, father of the.
I was going to talk about something else, but big drop there, big lore drop there. Surprised you didn't notice that these enemies resemble humanity, the little floating guys down in the Yeah, I didn't notice that. It makes sense though.
Pygmy, and helped shape humans into what they are now. The furtive pygmy is theorized to be Manus, father of the abyss, and forefather to the human species. Manus raised humanity in the depth of the abyss, a realm of darkness, one only inhabitable to humans, as beings who are aligned with fire, including the gods, are vulnerable to being corrupted, and require specific equipment to prevent them from succumbing to the physical and spiritual corruption of the abyss. This brings
specific equipment, they need dentures, or what equipment do they need?
brings humanity closer to the dark, rooting their essence in the abyss, whilst the lords strive for light, as the flame is what grants them power. Now that Nito has acquired the soul of death, the Witch of Izalith the soul of life, and Gwyn the soul of light, the three would possess
life, death, and light. Oh, okay.
the power to bring change to the world, as they no longer needed to live under the rule of the dragons. They knew that if they could cooperate with one another and use their newly found abilities to fight for the same cause, they could overthrow the dragons and become the new rulers of the Ashen world. And thus preparations began, and war was imminent. Once they were ready, the three lords waged war on the dragons. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters weaved deadly firestorms that would incinerate the lands. Gwyn would project his mighty lightning bolts towards the dragons, piercing
How long before we hear about Seath? It's got to be any second now.
their scales and sending them spiraling towards the ground, and Nito would deliver the killing blow by unleashing a miasma of death and disease upon them. Alongside Gwyn were his 4 trusted knights, one of which was Knight
Okay, we have 3 knights written down. I have Artorius, Kieran, or however you pronounce it, and Guff, or however you pronounce that one. So who's the 4th one? What did I miss?
Artorius, who was the commander of Lord Gwyn's army. As described by his wolf ring, Artorius had an unbendable will of steel and was unmatched with a greatsword. Also involved in the war was Hawkeye Goth, who later details his experience fighting in the battle against the dragons. According to the Hawk Ring, Goth was the leader of the Great Archers, and his abilities with a great bow were unmatched, taking down high-flying dragons, allowing Artorias and his allies to slay the dragons from the ground. Gwyn's third knight was Dragonslayer Ornstein, who was believed to be the
Oh shit, in 13 seconds we need to skip a Dark Souls 3 thing. Ornstein is the captain. Wait, what? Ornstein is the fourth?
Captain of the four knights, according to Ornstein's armor description. The Hornet Ring reveals that the final knight was Lord's Blade Kieran, who was notorious for using a dagger to lay waste to Lord Gwyn's enemies. The unsung heroes of the...
Okay, so apparently I did not catch that Ornstein was the one. I need to skip to 922 for no spoilers, so we're gonna skip to 922. 922. This is about Seath for sure.
Nameless being, whose existence may as
We're
well
not
have
gonna
never
look,
taken
not
place.
look. Okay, 922.
The Nameless King was not the sole traitor of his kind, as during the battle with the dragons, there was a betrayal that took place that would tip the scales in favor of the lords. The dragons were betrayed by one of their very own, Seath the Scaleless.
Yep.
Seath was different from the other dragons. As stated by his name, he had no scales, and this likely enabled him to be envious and resentful towards other dragons.
No. What's going on?
He may have even been treated differently, and thus when the chance presented itself, he took liberty in turning against his own kind, siding with the lords instead. Another reason for his betrayal is Gwyn's promise of giving Seath control over the archives, which is described as having a trove of precious tomes and letters. This would appeal to Seath, as the Moonlight Greatsword informs that Seath is a grand trove of precious tomes and letters. This would appeal to
Seth.
Seath, as the Moonlight Greatsword informs that Seath is a grandfather of
Let's be fine, just be careful while skipping. Okay.
sorcery, and this sword is imbued with his magic, which shall be unleashed as a wave of moonlight. Having access to the archives would grant Seath the ability to further...
Oh, sorry. Zach did us a good favor here, which says, the section that I skipped, summary of this section without spoilers. Humanity and Gwyn's firstborn fought in the war against the dragons, but humanity was not given credit. And the firstborn betrayed Gwyn somehow, resulting in his very name being stripped from the annals of history, which is... God, it's nice to know when I do pick up on things. Because I have written down here, somewhere, about the like unnamed progeny of Gwyn. For sure. The firstborn. Okay.
The study sorcery, broadening his knowledge on the subject. Seath would put his sorcery to use in the battle by using weapons such as the soul arrows, which are effective against iron armor, tough scales, and other physically resilient materials, making them perfect for
There was a spoiler on screen, but you didn't look. So it's fine. Oops.
piercing dragon scales. Soon after, the dragons could fight no longer, and although they weren't made extinct, the majority of them were killed, and therefore the reign of dragons had come to an end, paving the way to the rise of gods and the age of fire.
Look at that image. Westeros looks different. Age of Fire.
Following their victory, Gwyn, Nito, and the Witch of Izalith inherited the world left behind by the dragons. Nito descended into the Catacombs and slumbered within the Tomb of the Giants, where he continued to administer death by using the energy of the Lord Soul.
We just found out that you can travel there before actually fighting him.
Those who worship the Grave Lord will travel to his tomb and become Grave Lord's servants, aiding Nito in administering death in all parts of the world by using an Eye of Death. The dreadful Eyes of Death spread disaster across neighbouring worlds. Phantoms lured to the host world may end up as victims, allowing the Eyes of Death to multiply and leading to further proliferation of Bane.
I have so much respect for people who make videos like this. I am such a different type of creator. The amount of work it would take to find all of this B-roll, to write these scripts, to film this, edit it together. Oh my God. Shout out to the Brothers Code. This is wild.
Summons evil spirits into various locations to inflict death to its residents, in addition to luring the residents back to the Grave Lord servants, who are tasked with killing the victims and bringing their Eyes of Death to Nito. This is further explained by the Grave Lord's sword dance miracle, which states, Nito sleeps deep within the giant catacombs, quietly overseeing all death, and awaiting for his servants to
Couple seconds until we get to a spoiler.
usher in the Eye of Death. Triumphant against the dragons, Gwyn became the king of Lordran and lived alongside his clan of gods in the city of Anor Londo. They continued hunting descendants of...
Sorry, Anor Orlando? Anor Londo. That's not what I call it.
The dragons to ensure that they remained feeble in a world of gods, allowing the lords to develop their powers through practice. Gwyn was generous with his gifts to the majority of those who fought alongside him, but not so much for humanity, who we already know had never been credited for their involvement in the war. Gwyn's
Okay. From here to 1253. I'm gonna go to like here. 1253.
the true
Summary of this section. The gods, especially Gwyn, feared humanity due to their innate ability to use the abyss and soul, and thus he branded humans with the dark sign. So Gwyn is responsible for the dark sign. He branded humans with the dark sign. Interesting. I would not have guessed that was a gift from Gwyn.
intention of Gwyn's gift to humanity is to isolate them at world's end,
Bye,
and
Eva.
ensure that his youngest daughter Filianor would halt the flow of time, leaving them
Filianor?
to exist in the past and be forgotten by the world. Also demonstrating Gwyn's fear of humanity is the description of the ringed knight set, which reads, "The armor of early men was forged in the abyss, and betrays a smidgen of life. For this reason, the gods cast a seal of fire upon such armor and those who possessed them. A smidgen of life refers to the sprite of humanity within the pygmy, the power of the abyss, a source of strength that can only be utilized by humanity. And so it brought fear to the gods and threatened their reign, as humanity's existence is
I love that humanity's talent here is skip. Whoop, I'll skip. Sorry, I didn't even know it was spoilers. I love that what was I gonna say? I love that humanity's talent is like, sorry, we're like really existential. We've like embraced the void. We've really embraced the void. I have no idea how far forward to skip, but the dark sign
an accursed undead.
here. Let's start here. See what happens.
Those branded with it are reborn after death, but will one day lose their mind and go hollow.
Okay, the dark sign. You're reborn after death. You lose their mind and go hollow. I know that's not spoilers.
This decision is later revealed to have far-reaching consequences, ones that Gwyn could have never anticipated. But for now, the world belonged to the gods. Preceding Gwyn's betrayal of humanity, he rewarded Seath the Scaleless as promised. Seath was recognized for his efforts and was
With the
deemed a duke,
dukedom.
granting him control over the archives. This was seen as distasteful by a close friend of Gwyn called
Havel.
Havel, as he harbored immense hatred towards Seath. The Great Magic Barrier Miracle states, Havel the Rock, an old battlefield compatriot of Lord Gwyn, was the sworn enemy of Seath the Scaleless. He despised magic and made certain to devise means of counteraction. This statement suggests that Havel was loyal to Gwyn and fought alongside him during many battles, which further emphasizes the dislike Havel fostered towards Seath, leading him to fall out with his close friend Gwyn as a result of Seath being granted dukedom. As evidenced by the magic barrier, Havel took precaution by creating miracles that provide coating, which greatly boosts magic defense, assisting warriors who must face the magic, which Bishop Havel countered so proficiently. This allowed Havel to resist Seath's magic if they were to ever confront one another. It is unclear if Havel despises Seath due to his hatred for magic, or if his hatred for magic stems from his dislike for Seath.
Oh.
However, what is made clear
Chicken and egg there. What is made clear is that Havel's dope.
is that Havel distrusts Seath, and rightfully so, as he was a traitor of his own kind. What's to stop him from betraying Gwyn? In addition to acquiring miracles, Havel wields a dragon tooth, presumably taken from one of the dragon corpses killed in the war. The tooth is described as a weapon created from an everlasting dragon tooth, legendary great hammer of Havel the Rock. The dragon tooth will never break, as it's harder than stone, and it grants its wielder resistance to magic and flame. In addition to this, Havel wore armor carved from solid rock. Its tremendous weight is matched only by the defense it provides. Due to the nature of his armor, he was known as Havel the Rock. At some point down the line, Gwyn decided to lock Havel in the basement of a watchtower for no clear reason. The watchtower basement key reads, "There are rumors of a hero turned hollow who was locked away by a dear friend, for his own good, of course." This references Havel being imprisoned by Gwyn and states that it was for his own good, as he had turned hollow. It is suggested that
Has there ever been a more I feel like friends betraying friends, the line you have to say is, it's for your own good.
The description tells the story of what happened from the perspective of Gwyn, or at least tells the story in the way that Gwyn would have presented it, his once close friend who conveniently turned hollow when he began to object to Gwyn's choices. It seems more likely that Havel possibly planned to confront his nemesis Seath once and for all, and was caught by Gwyn, who in return locked him away to rot in a basement of a watchtower. A subsequent theory suggests that Havel
Currently watching your Skyrim playthrough and enjoying every second, especially when you got absolutely yeeted by a giant.
Samantha, I saw that you started it. Thank you for the 300 bits. Thank you. We did get yeeted by a giant. Absolutely yeeted by a giant.
was believed to be involved in the occult rebellion, which the effigy shield describes as an ill-fated plot to destroy the very gods.
Hi,
the
Johan.
reason that Havel is associated with the occult is because in Anor Londo, an occult club can be found besides the remainder of his armor, and as the Dark Ember puts it, occult weapons were used to hunt the gods, and are effective against their following and kin. Could it be that Havel had planned to overthrow the gods, resulting in Gwyn locking him away as a safety measure? Or would it make more sense to assume that someone, presumably Seath, had falsely accused Havel of treason by placing an occult club amongst Havel's arsenal? Havel was most likely a threat to Seath, after all. A clear resolution is yet to be found, but based on Havel's years of loyalty and chivalrous behavior, it is
Name two more iconic nemesises. Havel, can't speak, and Seath.
rational to assume that he was wrongfully imprisoned and left alone in a cell for many years, eventually losing his sanity and turning hollow. Many years later, the flame began to fade, threatening the reign of the Lords. As if the flame was to dissipate, their power would vanquish along with it. Gwyn and the other Lords were desperate for a solution, a way to maintain the first flame and continue the Age of Gods. The Witch of Izalith, who at this point had settled with her daughters in the city of Izalith, was summoned by Gwyn to recreate the first flame. As an attempt to avoid the dwindling of the fire, she managed to generate a new flame in Izalith. However, the fire grew uncontrollably, forming a flame of chaos, and neither the witch nor her daughters were capable of restraining it, growing to unprecedented proportions until the colossal flame devoured the witch. The flame used the Lord Soul to fuel itself and molded the witch's body into a seed bed, forming the bed of chaos, and mutating the occupants of the city into demons. Following the catastrophe—
Hear me out. Hot take. Bed of Chaos is not a good boss name. I've said that for years. If it meant seed bed of chaos rather than like place you lay your head of chaos, that's actually a better name. Call it the seed bed of chaos. That's actually way better. The place chaos is born from, the place chaos was nurtured and grew into its own. That's way better than the place chaos goes to rest at the end of the day.
that took place, Gwyn dispatched his Black Knights to eliminate the demons in Izalith. The Black Knight shield states, "Long ago, the Black Knights faced the Chaos Demons and were charred black. Due to his knights failing to defeat the demons, and the flame coming ever so close to extinguishing, Gwyn saw no other choice in sight but to depart from Anor Londo and reignite the flame himself, leaving his Silver Knights behind to protect the city in his absence. The Silver Knight set declares that when Gwyn departed to link the fire, his knights split into two groups. The Silver Knights remained in a forsaken capital in service of their
This is interesting. Silver Knights versus
the goddess being Gwyn's second-born child, Guinevere, Princess of Sunlight. Before departing on his endeavour, Gwyn divided and gifted pieces of his Lord Soul to various beings, in order to have his powers exceeded by those around him following his sacrifice. The Great Lord Greatsword suggests that Gwyn divided that power amongst his children, and set off with only his Greatsword as his companion. The Soul of the Four Kings explains that Lord Gwyn recognized the foresight of these four great leaders of New Londo,
fragmented
and
it,
granted them their ranks, and the fragments of a great soul. The remaining piece of his soul was given to Seath, who was clearly a favoured being amongst Gwyn's clan. The soul of Seath the Scaleless reads that Seath was embraced by the royalty and given a fragment of a great soul. With his soul divided, Gwyn entered the kiln of the first flame and sacrificed himself in favour of prolonging the flame's cycle, allowing the fire to engulf him and the Age of Gods to live on. Many of Gwyn's Black Knights ventured into the kiln alongside him, but as evidenced by the Black Knight set, were burned to ashes in a newly kindled flame, wandering the world as disembodied spirits ever after. Due to branding humanity with the dark sign, in addition to artificially prolonging the Age of Fire, a curse was released upon the world, the Curse of the Undead. Beings who die reawaken at bonfires, perpetually repeating the cycle of life and death, until they eventually lose their sanity and become hollows. Reaching a state of being hollow is marked by the decaying of the body over time, and once a hollow is killed, they no longer reawaken, but remain permanently dead. This is the consequence of refusing to relinquish the Age of Fire, and disallowing nature to take its course. The Undead Curse is the world's way
the
of correcting
idea
the gods'
here from a larger fantasy world building perspective is that this has a natural cycle to it, the end of fire and the Like the Age of Fire has a natural cycle to it, and that has been that an unnatural pause has been put in that by Gwen.
Wrongdoings, and making way for the Age of Dark, an inevitable state of existence that will at some point take its course regardless of the number of times the light is rekindled. The gods did everything in their power to constrain the dark, from casting the seal of fire on humanity to sacrificing themselves to the flame, not
Which means that when we beat the game, we don't... It sounds like of that secret ending that we just learned about with Ketha or whatever is actually sort of like letting the cycle take its course, whereas the main ending is not. It sounds like, I think.
knowing that their actions were futile and
Dark
would
Souls
only
is just a narrative complaining about boomers. Yeah, yeah. Let it take its
prolong the
course.
arrival to sacrificing themselves to the flame, not knowing that their actions were futile and would only prolong the arrival of a predestined future, a future of darkness.
Once, the Lord of Light banished dark and all that stemmed from humanity, and then assumed a fleeting form. These are the roots of our world. Men are props enslaved in life, and no matter how tender, how exquisite,
Yep. I don't know what to tell you guys.
Only dark will remain.
The Undead Pilgrimage. For the love of God, Ryan,
Well, soon-
don't yell at me. I'm not doing anything.
The flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst
The
the
best part is I have no idea what's a spoiler, so I can't, like... I'm like, fuck if I know, dude. I'm just watching a video. Could have sworn you had a document. Yeah, the next item on the document is I just closed the document. Nope, there it is. An hour and 1 minute in. So apparently all of this should be good.
living are seen carriers of the accursed dark sign. The Age of Fire, although extended, grows weaker, and soon enough the darkness will cast its shadow over the world. With the curse of the undead harrowing the land of ancient lords, little remains.
I didn't include area B-roll without any serious spoilers like this in the timestamps. I didn't think it matters that much. That's probably fine. He's going to play Dark Souls in 3 years. Dark Souls 3 in 6 years, and he'll forget about all the spoilers by then anyways.
But diminishing hope for the future. Here begins the tale of the chosen undead.
I think feel free to type skip if I see something you don't want me to see. But I think generally we're going to be okay. If it's area B-roll, if it's vague enough that I really don't understand what it's referencing anyways, we're going to be okay. But of course I want to be as blind as possible. So if you see something that you're like, definitely skip, feel free to type it. I'll skip ahead 10 seconds. I'll skip ahead. We're not going to miss that much by skipping 10 seconds at a time. It'll be totally fine. So feel free to say skip.
Undead, who awakens in
Yeah.
the Northern Undead Asylum, a prison where all undead beings are confined.
The dialogue of the NPC just now, though. Well, don't explain it, because I don't know what it was.
And left to rot until the end of time. Upon awakening in a cell, the chosen undead is rescued by a mysterious figure, who appears through a hole in the roof and drops
Cool.
a dungeon
This part
cell
we know.
key attached to a corpse. The key reads, "A mysterious knight, without saying a word, shoved a corpse down into the cell."
All I know is there was like a weird, grumbly, gravelly old man voice, and I'm already trying to forget it.
And on its person was this key. Who was this knight? And what was his purpose? There may be no answer, but one must still forge ahead. As advised by the key, the chosen undead forges ahead, as they unlock the cell door and navigate the maze-like asylum. The Undead Asylum's second floor east key reads, "The Undead Asylum is a giant undead prison, segmented by countless iron bars. Even if an undead were to escape from a cell, passage to the outside world would not be gained easily." A vague hint at a greater threat within the asylum. Soon after, the mysterious knight is found dying, appearing to have been hurled through the roof. The figure reveals himself to be Oscar, Knight of Astora. Oscar informs of a prophecy that references an undead being who will undertake a pilgrimage to ring the bells of awakening residing in Lordran, a crusade that will take place nearing the collapse of the Age of Fire and impact the state of the world.
Cool.
Thou
We
who
know all
art
this
undead
part.
art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringest the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know.
Oscar travels from the faraway land of Astora, a region known for its brave knights, aesthetic landscapes, as well as its masterful craftsmen, as evidenced by blacksmith Andre, who also originated in Astora. Oscar had journeyed to Lordran with the goal of ringing the bells of awakening. However, due to his current predicament, he chooses to delegate his mission to the chosen undead, and provides them with an Estus flask to aid in the journey. Estus flasks are described as
We really would have gone nowhere without Oscar.
treasure that can be filled with estus at a bonfire, which in return heals any wounds that the chosen undead may have suffered. Tasked with ringing the bells, the chosen undead leaves Oscar behind and continues to traverse the undead asylum until halted by the presence of an asylum demon. The creation of this demon is likely a side effect of the Witch of Izalith attempting to duplicate the first flame, and was placed in the asylum to ensure that no undead is able to escape.
So it says the demon is a side effect of the Witch of Izalith attempting to duplicate the flame. I wonder if that's where all the demons come from.
Attempting to duplicate the first flame, and was placed in the asylum to ensure that no undead is able to escape. A blockade of sorts for those brave enough to leave their cell. The demon's presence makes sense of why Oscar was found dying, revealing that he had fought the demon and lost. The demon's Great Hammer states that the weapon is used by lesser demons at Northern Undead Asylum, implying that the asylum demon is among the inferior ranks of demons, an indication of the challenges yet to come. Defeating the asylum demon grants the chosen undead the Big Pilgrim's Key, which allows them to escape the prison and begin their quest. Exploring beyond the asylum leads to the discovery of a giant crow, one of many ravens who are said to have once been Firelink messengers, guiding the undead to the land of ancient gods. Fulfilling its duty, the crow carries the chosen undead to Lordran, delivering them to Firelink Shrine.
We've come such a long way. One of the first questions I wrote, it was like the 10th question I wrote on this page was, am I currently in Lordran? I kept hearing so many things about Lordran, and I was like, I don't know, is that where we are? When will you learn to pronounce Izalith correctly? Hey, Tyrion, do me a favor. On your little chat box, type exclamation QUOTE spacebar 1000. Hit enter.
A safe haven to all travelers passing through. On arrival, the chosen undead is greeted by a crestfallen warrior, and it's made
It's Silver Morph Suit Guy!
apparent that this person is very well aware of the undead pilgrimage, likely to have assumed this task himself at some point in time. He informs the chosen undead that the first bell of awakening is located above the undead church, whilst the second is deep in the ruins of Blighttown. His posture, coupled with his dialogue, revealed that he had failed to ring the bells himself, and is now a demoralized soul, lingering around Firelink.
His posture. This is how demoralized people sit.
Watching those who pass by, with no real purpose. He is an example of a defeated soul, someone who couldn't persist and was beaten down by the cruelty of the undead curse. A sign of his discouragement is shown when he states, "There's no salvation here, you'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum." The warrior follows up by asking about another occupant of Firelink Shrine, stating,
Oh, have you seen that terribly morose lass, the Firekeeper? She's stuck keeping that bonfire lit. Sad,
R.I.P.
really. She's mute and bound to this forsaken place. They probably cut her tongue out back in her village, so that she'd never say any god's name in vain. How do these martyrs
Oh my god, hearing all of this, knowing what we now know, is blowing my mind.
keep chugging along?
The person in question is Anastasia of Astora, referred to as a Firekeeper, someone who is committed to maintaining their respective bonfire. The Firekeeper soul explains, each Firekeeper is a corporeal manifestation of her bonfire, and a draw for the humanity which is offered to her. Her soul is gnawed by infinite humanity, and can boost the power of the precious Estus flask. Anastasia's story proceeds beyond her sworn duty, as on several occasions she's referred to as impure, but the reasoning for such claims are never revealed.
True.
It could be related to why her tongue had been severed, possibly due to saying something that was perceived as impure, resulting in her punishment being the removal of her tongue. It appears that she had suffered further punishment, as she sports a blood-stained skirt, which can later be acquired. The description of the skirt reads, "It is thought to have once been the white skirt of a maiden, but its true origin is lost in patches of blood. Perhaps its former wearer was maimed to prevent escape." This statement reinforces that Anastasia was at some point tortured, having her legs impaired as to prevent her from walking, or rather escaping. What could she have possibly done to justify such cruel punishment? Until this day, it remains a mystery.
Any posture I sit in is a demoralized man's posture.
Surveying the area surrounding Firelink Shrine reveals a man named Petrus of Thoroland, an advocate for the Way of White, a religious covenant dedicated to hunting
It's
down
Bowl
the undead
Cut Berry. Everyone's favorite character, Bowl Cut Berry.
and kindling bonfires as a means of sustaining the Age of Fire. The head bishop of the Way of White is described by the White Seance Ring as an apostle to Allfather Lloyd, uncle to Lord Gwyn. This suggests that Allfather Lloyd was likely associated with the Way of White, although it's unclear if he was the founder of the organisation. Following Gwyn's sacrifice, the Way of White was formed in service of the gods, to ensure that the flame remains ignited and the gods preserve their power. The Covenant, along with Petrus, both come from the land of Thorold.
He's not your favorite? Look at this bowl cut. He's not your favorite? He's got to be. Look at his face.
which is known for its devotion towards Allfather Lloyd and the former Lord of Sunlight, Gwyn. Petrus is later joined by Rhea of Thoroland, alongside her companions and bodyguards, Vince and Nico of Thoroland. Rhea
I don't remember what we called them.
The daughter of House of Thoroland, making her royalty, but due to becoming undead, she was made to depart from her home and undergo the undead mission to restore her humanity once more. Rhea and her companions had travelled to Lordran to seek the rite of kindling, described as a sacred rite passed down among clerics, but all undead can imitate the process in the same manner that they restore their hollowing with humanity. Petrus is seen guiding Rhea on her journey, and he appears to be friendly and accommodating at first. However, his presence permeates sinister overtones. For now, in pursuit of the first Bell of Awakening, the chosen undead relocates to the Undead Burg, where they are met with another creation of the Witch of Izalith, the Taurus Demon, a large Minotaur-esque creature, wielding a weapon carved from the bones of other demons. The demon's great axe also implies that Taurus demons are lesser than their counterparts, indicating that once again, greater threats are yet to be uncovered. The chosen undead—
Yeah, that's just basic game design. That's just like, you fought this impossible thing that taught you how to play the game. Yeah, well, they're the least of your worries.
Once more proves worthy, slaying the Taurus demon and marching forward towards their objective. Within the Undead Burg, various characters can be met, one being Solaire of Astora, the warrior of sunlight.
Solaire.
I am Solaire of Astora, an adherent of the Lord of Sunlight. Now that I am undead, I have come to this great land, the birthplace of Lord Gwyn, to seek my very own son.
Solaire is on a mission, determined to find his own son. The Sunlight Talisman describes Solaire as having unwavering faith, and his armor of the sun is marked with a large holy symbol of the sun, while Powerless was painted by Solaire himself. Solaire states that he is an adherent of the Lord of Sunlight, Lord Gwyn himself, making sense of his motive to find his very own son. Conscious of the world nearing the end of an era, as darkness diminishes the light, Solaire aims to ally himself with other undead beings and offers to help if he was ever to be called upon by the chosen undead.
The way I see it, our fates appear to be intertwined, both undead, both imprisoned in the asylum, and now we both end up here, in a land brimming with hollows. Could that really be mere chance? So what do you say? Why not help one another on this lonely journey? We are amidst strange beings in a strange land. The flow of time itself is convoluted, with heroes centuries old phasing in and out. The very fabric wavers, and relations shift and obscure. There's no telling how much longer your world and mine will remain in contact.
Solaire is like sort of objectively better than Siegmeyer or Sieglund or whatever. Sieg Katarina guy, Onion guy. But I just love Onion guy.
With that said, Solaire and the chosen undead go their separate ways for now, recommencing on their quests. This leads
like he's a poet. Listen to him. The flow of time itself.
The very fabric wavers, and
relations shift and obscure.
With that said, Solaire and the chosen undead go their separate ways for now,
he's a poet,
recommencing on their quests. This leads to the lower Undead Burg, where a sorcerer by the name of Griggs of Vinheim can be found trapped in a room. Vinheim was infamously known for its Dragon School, an organization that specializes in teaching sorcery. It is rumored that the school's name was inspired by none other than Seath the Scaleless. Freeing Griggs from the locked room reveals his armor to be the Black Sorcerer's set, which is described as an outfit worn by the secret sorcerers at Vinheim Dragon School. They secretly worked with sound-based spells and never reveal themselves. This hints at Griggs being a prominent figure within the Vinheim Dragon School. Reaffirming this notion is his possession of—
He's a far better knight, but Sieg is a better father on the account of Solaire lacking children. Sieg is a better father on the account of all other contestants being disqualified.
The Great Soul Arrows, which read, at the Vinheim Dragon School, the acquisition of this spell marks an apprentice's coronation as a sorcerer. Griggs' main objective is to find his master, Big Hat Logan, and whether or not the two are reunited is dependent on the chosen undead's actions. If all of his sorceries are purchased, Griggs will travel into dangerous territory in search of his master, leading to him becoming hollow in Sen's fortress. Alternatively, disregarding his sorceries will lead to Griggs remaining in Firelink Shrine, awaiting the day his master returns. Back to the lower Undead Burg, persisting through the narrow alleyway leads to the Capra Demon, another creature given life by the Flame of Izalith. This foe wields a demon great machete and is accompanied by multiple dogs, making them a nuisance to deal with. But nonetheless, the chosen undead overcomes the challenge and reaches the location of the undead church. Roaming the environment can lead to the discovery of Knights Lautrec of Carim, who can be seen locked in a cell on the top floor of the church. The people of Carim, similar to those of Thoroland, are worshippers of gods. Lautrec himself being devoted to Fina, a goddess described by the Ring of Favor and Protection as having fateful beauty. The Favor set states that Lautrec believed in a goddess's love for him, but was this love truly reciprocated, or was Lautrec disillusioned by his love for Fina? At this point, the chosen undead can choose to free Lautrec, resulting in
We shouldn't have. We should have left him in there.
them being rewarded for their efforts. However, regardless of the chosen undead's intervention, Knight Lautrec is able to break free from the cell and can later be found in Firelink Shrine.
So he's not a certain character from Hollow Knight, where what you actually do does depend on whether or not you have to fucking fight him later.
Returning to Firelink at a later point in time, it is revealed that the bonfire had faded, and the Firekeeper Anastasia had been murdered by the Knight of Karim, Lautrec. It is said that Lautrec had forsaken his duties as a knight, leading to his appearance in
The illusion
Lordran.
of choice.
However, the mission he states that he's on remains speculatory. It can be surmised that his mission was to track down Anastasia and acquire her Firekeeper soul, which would explain his actions. Using the Black Eye Orb, Lautrec can be invaded in Anor Londo and found in possession of the Firekeeper soul, curiously yet to have consumed it. Could it be that he had neglected to use it, or did he have other intentions with the soul? Nonetheless, the chosen undead defeats Lautrec and uses the Firekeeper soul to revive Anastasia, now with her tongue restored, while simultaneously reigniting the Firelink bonfire. Reaching the rooftop, the chosen undead
it's the hardest boss in the entire game for me. 38 deaths.
The
37.
bell gargoyles, safeguarding the passage to the top of the church, and rings the Bell of Awakening, successfully
38.
completing the first task of the undead pilgrimage. Descending the undead church will lead to the discovery of Oswald of Karim, a pardoner who provides absolution for those who have sinned. Oswald's riddle-like dialogue warns of Petrus of Thoroland, stating the following:
Hast thou acquaintance with Petrus of Thoroland? I wager you two have likely found much in common.
I don't remember this.
For is he not too drenched in sin?
I remember finding this
This
guy.
warning implies that Petrus is a sinner, foreshadowing events that are yet to come. But for now, the chosen undead knows not to trust Petrus, however cordial he
We're going to get more answers on this very soon, I think. But my memory of Petrus is just that he really liked Rhea and was always talking about his mistress. Not that he committed any crimes or sins.
may appear. Travelling through the undead parish leads to the uncovery of a dark and deadly forest, known as the Darkroot Garden, home to the Forest Hunter Covenant and Alvina of the Darkroot Wood.
I'm Alvina.
These are the bits you could skim through if you wanted, since it's retreading NPC quest stuff. I may.
Of the
Alvina.
Darkroot Wood. I command a clan of hunters who track down defilers of the forest graves. What dost thou say? Wilt thou not join us?
Alvina offers the chosen undead to join her covenant, a group of hunters working in service of protecting the forest from invaders and ensuring that the graves are not meddled with. It is likely that Alvina is in some way connected to Knight Artorias and his companion Sif. To what extent is unclear, however. The legend of Artorias is revered by many, known as the Abyss Watcher, the savior of Ulasil. What's the
The Abyss what? What did you just say?
of Artorias is revered by many, known as the Abyss Watcher, the savior of Ulasil.
Oh, that's a misspeak.
What's the implication of Alvina referring to his legend as a mere fabrication? Although unknown for now, later revelations will
Does Alvina know that I'm the truth? That Artorias is not? Alvina knows the truth, which is that I'm the
bring
hero.
clarity to such accusations. Another figure who can be found within the forest is Shiva of the East,
This is
a
Shiva,
member
okay.
of the Forest Hunter Covenant, distrusted by Alvina as she believes that he withholds self-serving desires beyond the Covenant's goals. Shiva had migrated from distant eastern lands, home to many assassins and swordsmen. The Shadow Set reveals that some eastern armor is crafted with espionage in mind for those who intend to remain incognito, whilst the Eastern Set is crafted for more traditional battles, with excellent defense against slash attacks. Shiva will only appear if the chosen undead agrees to join the ranks of the Forest Hunters, and would make a return in Blighttown, offering many exotic weapons for those willing to pay the price. Prior to this, deep within the Darkroot Garden resides one of Seath the Scaleless' many creations, described as being imbued with a pure magic power. The creation in question being the Moonlit Butterfly,
Created by Seath? I did not understand that.
a hostile creature with extremely strong magical abilities, logical considering the creator is the grandfather of sorcery, though the Moonlit Butterfly lacks in any physical prowess, and can be defeated by the chosen undead with little effort. Treading along, the chosen undead crosses paths with Laurentius of the Great Swamp, dealing with the adversity
Hanging out
of
in a
being
barrel.
trapped in a
Just hanging out in a barrel.
barrel. If Laurentius were to
Shiva has a cut side quest where he murders you for a special sword if you ever acquire it, and you hunt him down in the painting. Oh,
to be freed. Like many, he would later be found in Firelink Shrine. As evidenced by his name, Laurentius comes from the Great Swamp, described by the Pyromancer set as having rugged grasslands and treacherous swamps, a relentless place occupied by many pyromancers. Those originating from the Great Swamp often travel to Lordran, as in most regions, pyromancers are frowned upon. Lordran, however, respects those who indulge in pyromancy, as after all, Lordran is home to the godmother of pyromancy, the Witch of Izalith. Before reaching Blighttown, the chosen undead can confront the gaping dragon, located in a large open chamber in the depths. This adversary is described as a distant, deformed descendant.
one of the best names in the entire game.
Of the everlasting dragons. This is likely the result of the first flame being ignited, turning the dragon into an inferior being to those who came before. Once the fight is over, the chosen undead can head into Blighttown, said to be the location of the second Bell of Awakening. Whilst traversing the dark and complex pathways of the underground city, Quailana of Izalith can be found, unexpectedly retaining her human form, unlike her mother and siblings, who to some extent were transformed into demons. Prior to the catastrophe that took place in Izalith, Quailana was an avid user of fire sorcery. She, along with her sisters, are recounted as flame witches. Following the consumption of Izalith, Quailana fled the city, assuming that her mother and siblings had been killed, knowing little of the fact that they all survived. Following her escape from Izalith, Quailana became the creator of pyromancy, possibly due to the trauma caused by the creation of the Chaos Flame, opting to use a safer method instead. Quailana shared her mastery of pyromancy with her student Solomon, who then passed the knowledge onto the people of the Great Swamp, explaining why many pyromancers originate from there. In a final plea to the chosen undead, Quailana demands that they free the consumed souls of her mother and siblings by slaying what remains of their corrupted bodies, blissfully unaware that although formed into demons, their consciousness
What a sus zoom there.
remains intact and not in need of salvation.
Hold up. 1 second.
Consumed souls of her mother and siblings
Mother.
by slaying what remains of their corrupted bodies, blissfully unaware
Quailag, our Fair Lady who doesn't have a name.
that although formed into demons,
Is that fucking ceaseless discharge?
their consciousness remains intact and not in need of salvation. If the chosen undead chooses to acquire pyromancies from Quailana and make a return to Firelink Shrine, Laurentius will question the chosen undead, asking them where they had obtained such power. If the answer is kept a secret, Laurentius will remain in Firelink. However, if informed,
This might get covered in this video, but does that mean Ceaseless is one of the siblings?
he will relocate to the Blighttown swamp, where the daughter resides, in search of the power obtained by the chosen undead. Alas, Laurentius would later be seen wandering Blighttown as a hollow, revealing that he had failed on his quest of obtaining further power, and had lost his sanity in the process. This sets in motion the chosen undead's meeting with the Chaos Witch Quailag. The soul of Quailag confirms that she was once daughter of the
So Laurentius is who we killed. We called him the mayor. We called him the mayor of Blighttown. Because we thought that that's who it was, but
of obtaining
it was
further
not the
power,
mayor.
and had lost his sanity in the process. This sets in motion the chosen undead's meeting with the Chaos Witch Quailag. The soul of Quailag confirms that she was once daughter of the Witch of Izalith, but now a Chaos Demon, a victim to the manufactured flame that devoured Izalith. Failing to
A victim to the
escape
manufactured
the city
flame.
in time, she became corrupted by the fire, mutating into a part spider, part human creature. Although fused with demons,
My
Quailag and her
monetization!
young sister, the Fair Lady,
I'm kidding. I'm
managed
not
to keep their
monetizing this
sanity
video.
intact. When relocating
I
from their
fist
home,
end.
Quailag and the Fair Lady took a group of their servants with them. The servants were unfortunate to suffer from a parasitic disease.
We've
becoming
heard about the servants. I have one written down here. Yes, the servants. Shit. Shit. What is the name of the guy? I was trying to figure this out earlier.
afflicted with an unknown blight, resulting in their whole bodies becoming infested by worms. If killed, the egg-burdened will not drop souls, the worms within them will do so instead, indicating that the parasites had devoured the souls of the host. In an act of purity, the Fair Lady, despite Quailag's disapproval, chose to suck out the blight pus from her servants, sacrificing her health and sight in exchange of saving them. One of the servants, named Inji, can be
There
found
it is,
in Quailag's
Inji.
domain,
I was like, I swear I have it written down somewhere. Inji.
stating the following.
There is nothing to say to you, except if you lay a hand on the fair lady,
Aw.
you should be prepared to face my wrath.
This statement conveys the adoration the servants felt towards the fair lady in response to the sacrifice she made for their sake. Quelaag now remains in Blighttown in protection of her younger sister, who became weakened and blind, making her unable to travel. With her sister's condition worsening, Quelaag has no choice but to accompany her at all times to ensure that the fair lady is not to be harmed by anyone. In light of this knowledge, the battle with the Chaos Witch is rather bittersweet. However, it must be fought if the chosen undead is to reach the second Bell of Awakening. Transitioning to the fair lady,
Quelaag is really just protecting our fair lady, aka her sister.
she can be found hidden behind an illusionary wall following the fight, likely Quelaag's attempt at shielding her from harm. The fair lady acts as a firekeeper to the bonfire in the area, but is unable to communicate with the chosen undead
Chronic, I did finally learn what Seek Guidance does.
unless they equip the old witch's ring. Equipping the ring will lead the fair lady to believe that the chosen undead is in fact her sister Quelaag, urging her to say the following.
Quelaag, please, sister, do not cry. I am happy, really.
We heard this already.
I love you, don't I?
Believing that her sister Quelaag stands before her, the fair lady reassures her not to cry, expressing that she is happy, although in reality, she suffers day by day, endlessly living in anguish since her sacrifice. Interestingly, she attempts to comfort herself when stating, "I have you, don't I?" trusting that her sister remains by her side during her
But she
times
does
of
not.
need. Yet the quiver in her voice questions the very words
She's
she
dead.
speaks, as she slowly begins to lose her faith in her own self, knowing deep down that her sister is gone. One day, the fair lady's corpse would be discovered by an Ashen One, hidden behind the veil of an illusionary wall, clasping the pyromancy tome of her sister, Quelana. A tale as tragic as the fair lady's is only matched by none other than her own brother, Ceaseless Discharge, the youngest child and only son of the witch
Nameless child, only son. Ceaseless Discharge is the only son. Wow.
of Izalith. Born with sores inflamed by lava, the child was raised in hardship,
Ceaseless Discharge was born with like cold sores and turned into this. Wow.
invoking his sisters to enchant a ring that would ease his pain. The orange charred ring reads, since his sores were inflamed by lava from birth, his witch sisters gave him this special ring. Worsening his already dire existence, the duplication of the first flame resulted in him morphing into a large demonic creature, making him the first ever demon to come to life. Ceaseless now lingers in the demon ruins, watching over the corpse of his supposedly deceased sister, Quelana, who we now know is alive. The corpse is accompanied by Quelana's gold-hemmed black set, a uniform said to have been worn since before the Age of Fire.
Oh shit.
When traversing the ruins, Ceaseless does not become hostile towards the chosen undead. That is
Until they loot the body.
decide to loot the clothing of his beloved sister. His sister's clothes is all that is left for him to remember her by, his only source of comfort
But it's not actually Quelana.
in a life of solitude, opting to believe that his family still watches over him till this day. Freeing him from this pitiful existence, Ceaseless Discharge is laid to rest, after suffering for 1,000 years, unaware that his sister was still alive. Finally,
So
the
whose
chosen
body?
undead reaches their destination, ringing the second bell of awakening, and causing the gates of Sen's fortress to open,
And then we
unlocking
go into this hellhole. This absolute
the pathway
hellhole.
to the land of ancient gods.
Best
If
area in
the
the
chosen
game.
undead is to visit the fortress prior to ringing the bells, the gate would be sealed closed, and an undead adventurer would be helplessly sat outside, unable
There's
to
our
reach
boy.
Anor Londo. The adventurer is called Siegmeyer of Katarina,
There's our
traveling
guy.
from a land celebrated for its cheerful residents and festivity. However, the honorable knights of Katarina aren't always given their fair dues, as they are described as being often ridiculed for their onion-like shape, infuriating the proud knights. With the gates opened, the chosen undead can commence on their journey, encountering various challenges every step of the way. The stone fort is said to have been built as a proving ground, a way of testing those who deem themselves worthy of setting foot in Anor Londo. Making their way through
I truly think this game would be not whole without Sen's Fortress. It's 100% the best area. I don't know that it's the best area. It's my favorite area in the game.
fortress, the chosen undead is challenged by armed guards resembling serpents,
It's
titanite
hell.
demons, a diverse range of traps, and many other environmental hazards. Delving deeper into the fortress, the chosen undead is reunited with Siegmeyer, who's once again halted on his adventure, unable to overcome one of the many traps built within the confines of the
This is the picture of bravery to me. This armor.
stronghold. Akin to prior events, it is up to the chosen undead to overcome the challenge, enabling them to solve the puzzle-like trap and pave the way for Siegmeyer's entrance into Anor Londo. Whilst maneuvering the iron ball trap mechanism, the chosen undead can manipulate it to destroy a nearby wall, uncovering the whereabouts of Big Hat Logan. He's found locked in a cage, likely to have been caught by one of the traps.
You got to kill Danny Zuko.
Rescuing Logan leads to him showing gratitude towards the chosen undead, and retreating to Firelink Shrine, where he
Rescue
accompanies
Gandalf.
Griggs of Vinheim, the sorcerer previously freed from Lower Undead Burg. Logan was a renowned sorcerer and a royal member of the Vinheim Dragon School. The description of the Soul Spear credits Logan as its creator, and details that it's a symbol of Logan's strength. The Soul Spear is referenced repeatedly in the legends, and is said to have been on par with Lord Gwyn's lightning. This puts into perspective the extent of the power that Big Hat Logan encompasses. Although extremely capable, Logan does not flaunt his stature, as he's still seen wearing his worn-out sage robe from his apprentice days at the Dragon School. Little more is...
If you had to say what your favorite area in the game is, what would it be? Bye, Deku. Thanks so much for being here.
known about Logan, although a conversation with a blacksmith named Rickert of Vinheim suggests that he had been undead for over a century. Could this be the very reason Logan departed from Vinheim?
Oh, Big Hat? Of course I've heard of him. Who hasn't in Vinheim? He was a royal member of Dragon School, until he turned undead. I hear he was quite the character. Only that was 100 years ago.
The final deterrent to those seeking access to Anor Londo is the Iron Golem, a guardian of Sen's fortress, referenced as a slayer of heroes who ventured forth to Anor Londo. The core of an Iron Golem is described as originally a bone of an everlasting dragon, explaining the durability of this adversary. Having said that, there was one warrior who was able to defeat this foe, Black Iron Tarkus, a
I just need to do some very quick math. My favorite area would be Undead Parish. That area is very cool. So we have an hour and 20 minutes left. There are a couple minutes that I would skip. An hour and 20 is 80 minutes. We're doing it at like 1.25 speed. So 64 minutes, assuming I don't do anything. I'm going to try and finish this whole video today. I worked something out with our coaches so that hopefully I can maybe just be, I'm going to drive myself to this cross-country meet so that hopefully we can just try and make this whole thing happen today. But we're going to be pushing it to the wire, so.
Knight of Berenike. The Black...
You should be good. Hypothetically, I would need to leave in 20 minutes, but we're gonna just try and push through. I'm going to be late to the meet, so. I'm going to drive separate to the meet so that hopefully I'm not late.
That Tarkus is a knight known for his great strength.
But we'll try and push
This stands true for all knights of Berenike, as they wore heavy armor, wielded great swords, and were praised for their mighty vigor. Sad to say, the majority of the knights became undead, and
Maybe
ventured to
Darkroot?
Lordran to find a solution to their predicament. One at a time, the knights began to turn hollow, making them a threat to all undead beings in Lordran. Black Iron Tarkus was an exception to this fact, resulting in him being one of the only knights to survive past Sen's fortress, in his quest to cure the undead curse. In a display of virtue, Tarkus offers himself up to those who need assistance in defeating the Iron Golem, granting the chosen undead the ability to summon him for the fight if need be. Slaying the Iron
I think I found that. I think I found it.
Golem marks the end of the final challenge, giving the chosen undead access to the land of the gods, home to the Lord Vessel that would decide the fate of the world.
This was the coolest moment in the entire game. Oh my god, the amazement. I think we pushed through. I think we're going to do it all today.
Anor Londo was abandoned by many since the absence of Gwyn, who left the city behind over 1,000 years ago. Yet the kingdom appears to have maintained its beauty, as well as the preservation of its marble structure, a peculiar surprise to say the least. Perhaps this is something to be investigated at a later point. Exploring the ancient land reveals the remaining guardians of Anor Londo, the Sentinels, and their higher-ranking counterparts, the Royal Sentinels, who will become hostile if the chosen undead oversteps their boundaries. In addition, Batwing demons are present throughout the land, the same demons that provide the chosen undead passage into the city. Perhaps this is the extent of their duties. If so, what's the reason for their hostility?
Gargoyles.
It's possible that there are limits to where foreign beings are permitted to roam. The Batwing demons are described as unique chaos demons, as unlike others, they are imbued with lightning. Their presence in Anor Londo could also be an indication of Gwyn's alliance with the demon race. Also guarding Anor Londo are the Silver Knights, who as previously mentioned were ordered to stay behind by Gwyn in
Oh my god, those fucking archer knights.
service of protecting their goddess Guinevere. Upon closer inspection, it is noticeable that Anor Londo's architecture is built with consideration for both gods and humans, as evident with the various sizes of appliances, pathways, stairs, doors, and even lifts. This indicates that the capital was more accommodating.
I had seen, okay, this makes so much sense. The two elevators outside of Guinevere. Oh, it makes so much sense.
Is built with consideration for both gods and humans, as evident with the various sizes of appliances, pathways, stairs, doors, and even lifts. This indicates that the capital was more accommodating than what was previously thought, and was likely home to both gods and humans. Approaching a nearby bonfire leads to the introduction
It's
to
my
the
wife.
Dark Moon Knightess, a gatekeeper and guide to outside travelers. At this moment, little is known about the Knightess, besides the fact
Except
that she's
she's
a
hot.
firekeeper, and possibly originated from Karim.
And
This
she's
can be
my wife.
speculated based on her weapon of choice being a parry and dagger, a favourite of the Knights of Karim, who are famous for fighting without a shield. Surveying the area, the corpse of Black Iron Tarkus, the Honourable Knight of Berenik, can be found within a giant hall of painting guardians, likely to have fallen off the narrow rafters, if not through one of the windows leading to the hall, a pitiful end to an otherwise decorated knight. If not for the involvement of the chosen undead, another knight would have met their fate in Anor Londo, as Siegmeyer, the Onion Knight previously encountered, is now in need of rescuing from imminent death. Siegmeyer can be found trapped in a room with a collective of Silver Knights awaiting his exit. The chosen undead deals with the Silver Knights, clearing the way for Siegmeyer to continue on his journey. Interestingly, before departing, Siegmeyer says, "Next time give me a chance to come up with a plan." The slight aggression hints at his frustration with being saved. The prideful knight that he is would rather
Oh, he's so perfect. The fool of a took, the what's the word? The like inept knight.
use his resolve to overcome an obstacle, or at least die trying, than to be constantly indebted to the chosen undead. Within a giant cathedral in Anor Londo reside the greatest threat yet to be faced, Dragonslayer Ornstein and Executioner Smo. As we already know, Ornstein was once a member of the Four Knights of Gwyn. After the gods abandoned Anor Londo, Ornstein alongside Smo remained stationed to guard its cathedral, and with it, the Princess of Sunlight, Guinevere. Executioner Smo desired to be a member of Gwyn's Knights. However, he was rejected due to his unhinged behaviour, and maniacal joy in being an executioner. Smo's hammer describes him as such. Smo loved his work, and ground the bones of his victims into his own feed, ruining his hopes of being ranked with the Four Knights. The implication that Smo possessed cannibalistic tendencies likely led to him
So it was really just out there in plain sight, the fact that Ornstein is one of the Four Knights and Smo is definitely not.
being regarded as nothing more than a savage,
That was a mystery to me.
unworthy of being amongst Gwyn's ranked knights. With his wild nature, it is no surprise that if Ornstein is to be defeated first in the fight, Smo crushes his body to absorb his power, with little respect shown to his compadre. If the roles were to be reversed, Ornstein would place his hand on Smo's body as a gesture of respect before absorbing his power, a
I never knew that.
clear difference in their moral disposition. Upon defeating the pair,
I think I killed Ornstein first, so I realized that the hammer became electric. I'm pretty sure, but
Princess Guinevere reveals herself, claiming that the chosen undead's duty is to succeed her father Gwyn and inherit the fire of their world. She pleads that they must end the eternal twilight, as the world without fire shall be a frigid and frightful dark. In addition to this, Guinevere provides the chosen undead with a Lord Vessel, a means to link the flame and prolong the Age of Fire. The Lord Vessel is bestowed upon the chosen undead, who is destined to succeed Lord Gwyn. To open the final door, place this vessel on a Firelink altar and fill it with powerful souls. These instructions suggest that the chosen undead must acquire the soul of Grave Lord Nito and the Bed of Chaos, as well as the souls of Seath the Scalers and the Four Kings, which previously belonged to Gwyn before he fragmented his soul and gifted it to them. Placing the four souls on the altar will grant access to the Kiln of the First Flame, where the fate of the world will be decided. If the chosen undead was to be oblivious to this
It's a new subscriber.
Ooh.
Welcome to the cult.
Lockbox, thank you for the Prime sub. Thanks very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
pathetic behaviour of Guinevere, or as previously mentioned, the unnatural preservation of Anor Londo for the past millennia, they would leave the capital in pursuit of the required Lord Souls. However, with further investigation, it is revealed that the entire construction of Anor Londo, along with Princess Guinevere herself, is naught but a grand illusion, a facade, orchestrated by none other than Dark Sun Gwyndolin, the last born of Lord
It is revealed how? Wait, how is this revealed? I didn't know this.
millennia. They would leave the capital in pursuit of the required Lord Souls. However, with further investigation, it is revealed that the
What?
entire construction of Anor Londo, along with Princess Guinevere herself,
This
is
part
not
makes sense, the Gwendolyn
but a
part.
grand illusion, a facade, orchestrated by none other
It was stated and you ignored it? How? Where was it stated? Where was it stated? In what item?
than Dark Sun Gwyndolin, the last born of Lord Gwyn. Gwyndolin is the last remaining god and protector of the forsaken city of Anor Londo. The Moonlight Robe
The Moonlight Robe.
explains that Gwendolyn was raised as a daughter due to the power of the moon being strong within him. With his father being the Lord of Sunlight, he likely viewed Gwendolyn, or rather all who were affiliated with the moon's power, as inferior, resulting in Gwendolyn being treated less than adequately by his father. It is probable that the moon is also a reminder of
You're telling me Gwendolyn had daddy issues just like the rest of us? Relatable, am I right? It was stated and you ignored it could be Ryan's biography title. That's very interesting. Gwendolyn was raised as a daughter? You read an item that you get after defeating Gwendolyn out loud and proceeded to not give a fuck?
the inevitable Age of Darkness, the bane of Gwyn's existence. Gwendolyn now leads the Blade of the Dark Moon Covenant, which was created.
Hi Ryan in chat. I've been enjoying the Valheim playthrough with my girlfriend. Oh, hello. Thank you so much. Enjoy the Valheim. Thank you so much for the Prime sub. Thanks. Tell your girlfriend I said hello. Just kidding. That's weird.
To punish the guilt-soaked offenders of the gods. Upon punishing the offenders, members of the Covenant would take the victim's ear as proof of their conquest and provide it to Gwendolyn in exchange for having their rank increased, leaving the earless corpses as a warning to others, inspiring both fear and respect for the gods. The Dark Moon Blade Covenant Ring states, Gwendolyn, all too aware of his repulsive, frail appearance, created the illusion of a sister Guinevere who helps him guard over Anor Londo and unmask.
So that part I get. But Anor Londo itself is a illusion? Like, is not really kept up as well as it should be?
Masking of these deities would be tantamount to blasphemy. To pull back the veil placed upon Anor Londo, one must destroy the illusion of Guinevere, resulting in the city darkening, and Darkmoon soldiers being deployed by Gwendolyn to hunt down a chosen undead. Alternatively, the illusion can be maintained, using this as an opportunity to deceive Gwendolyn, posing as a
Spoilers coming up in a minute. Yes, thank you. Spoilers coming up in 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Can I tell you? Can I be honest with you? Something? Can I be 100% honest with you guys about something? I did not notice that the city was empty and sunless after I killed Gwendolyn. I didn't notice that anything had changed.
An adherent who wishes to join the Blade of the Dark Moon Covenant. To achieve this, one must acquire the Dark Moon Seance Ring, which is outlined as a ring that is granted to adherents of Gwendolyn. Once the ring is equipped,
did I just not look around?
The chosen undead is able to approach Gwendolyn's sanctum within the Dark Moon Tomb under the guise of an
Is that the problem?
ally, only to betray Gwendolyn by traversing through the fog and slaying the last remaining deity in Anor Londo. Or at least that's what the chosen undead is led to believe, as many years later, it is revealed that Gwendolyn was devoured by Saint Aldridge of the Deep.
That seems like I didn't see that. I don't know what that is. And the Dark Moon Knightess was hostile to you. This person, for sure. This person. Yeah, that's exactly who you're talking about. Exclamation gecko, absolutely.
Defeating Gwendolyn will result in the Dark Moon Knightess becoming hostile, forcing the chosen undead's hand in engaging the Firekeeper. The brass set explains the sudden change of alliance from the Knightess, expressing that, after becoming undead, she visited the Dark Sun Gwendolyn at the Mausoleum of the Spiral Depths, became a Blade of the Dark Moon, and assumed the flame-keeping duty. She received this armor, which hides her hideous form, and helps her hunt the guilty. In her eyes, the chosen undead is the guilty, committing the worst sin imaginable, by way of slaughtering her god, which she had placed all her faith in. Becoming aware of the illusion placed on Anor Londo, it is logical to begin questioning all that had taken place this far. To what extent had reality been altered in favor of displaying a...
Yes, this is exactly what I wanted. Is it really that different side by side? Everything Gwendolyn is doing is to maintain a facade of godly might in the city so that you'll shepherd yourself towards the linking ritual. I don't think it was dark yet. It's after killing Guinevere, not Gwendolyn, right? So when you say killing Guinevere, can you go up to the illusion of Guinevere and hit it? Is that what you're saying? When you say killing Guinevere, does that mean hitting the illusion? You shoot an arrow at her? Holy fuck! That is cool. I could have hit her with throwing knives. Okay, so in my defense, I wasn't blind to the fact that the city changed lights. I just didn't change lights. It's fine.
A model city.
I was more worried about my wife who
originally
was fighting me all of a sudden. The Dark Moon Knightess.
states that he had remained in the Grand Cathedral.
I had pieced together that it was Guinevere was an illusion, because that checked out with my having seen Guinevere earlier. That whole room is like, it looks like an illusion. Now I'm a little mad I didn't go back and hit it with throwing knives.
However, many years later, studying the Dragon Slayer set will bring light to the possibility that the Ornstein faced in Anor Londo is in fact a creation.
The next thing says 101:23 is a spoiler. So in about 50 seconds, we'll have a spoiler.
Of Gwendolyn, another pawn within the Grand Illusion. The Dragon Slayer set reads, in the Dragonless Age, this knight, who long guarded the ruined cathedral, left the land in search of the nameless king. Smo may have also been an illusion. Reinforcing this theory is the description.
What the fuck? So Smo and Ornstein were just an illusion?
Of Smo's armor, which
Maybe?
references Smo as an executioner. However, many years later, Smo's armor would refer to him as the last knight to stand in defense of the ruined cathedral. How could he have risen to the rank of knight if the chosen undead had killed him in Anor Londo? Perhaps, soon after Ornstein left the cathedral, the real Smo followed suit, and at some point became worthy of the rank of knight. The mystery remains to be, what had happened to the real Ornstein if the one encountered is an imitation? One theory suggests that following Gwyn's sacrifice, Ornstein departed from the ruined cathedral.
Sorry, it's like right here-ish. Right here, so we're going to skip forward to 102:35. 102:35, I'm not even looking, I'm just looking at the time.
As within the very cathedral that Ornstein was guarding, there are all
How did an illusion kill you 10 times? They were fucking hard. They were really difficult.
of 3 statues, 2 of them depicting Gwyn and his daughter Guinevere,
So-
with the third
Yes, here. There's something missing. I have a question about this. In my notebook, I have, what is missing on the pedestal?
There are alcoves of 3 statues, 2 of them depicting Gwyn and his daughter Guinevere, with
Guinevere.
the third being hollow.
Gwendolyn?
The sunlight altar, although destroyed, depicts the fallen god of war. No wonder the wyvern safeguards the bridge leading to the altar, a reminder of the firstborn son of Gwyn, a warrior that
No,
once
it's the firstborn that is now nameless, which has all been, etc. Zach says, I think that's a misreading of the lore. Ornstein was the illusion, not Smo.
belonged amongst royalty, still worshipped by those who believed in him. Amidst the wealth of history discovered in Anor Londo,
Okay, next thing is at 109.
also lies a world concealed from all life, the painted world of Ariamis, placed amidst
Okay, speaking of your least favorite area in the entire game, any any takers? Because
the painting guardians, who have guarded the great paintings of Ariamis for ages, passing their duty down through the generations. But the reason for doing so passed from all memory long ago. The painted world was created as a refuge for the lost souls of various creatures. Since the inception of the undead curse, countless beings had either hollowed or lost their purpose in life. With their souls going astray, they aimlessly wander the lands in hopes of finding guidance. Over time, word spread of a painted world that welcomes all beings without a home, and so the painted world became popular amongst abandoned souls. Some believe that the true purpose of the world was to hide the existence of crossbreed Priscilla, a being neither god nor human. Priscilla is described.
now is a great moment to remind you that tomorrow at the start of stream, we will be doing Smash or Pass Dark Souls Edition. Nothing specifically made me think of the fact that we'll be doing this, but tomorrow, right at the start of stream, we'll smash or pass every single boss in Dark Souls. Can't wait. Again, this is apropos of truly nothing.
As a dragon crossbreed, a bastard child of Seath the Scaleless, who had been trapped in the painted world. Priscilla wields a life hunt scythe, a weapon that cultivated enough power.
Don't be weird. This is assuming age and sentience and all of that like you usually do with Smash or Pass. Don't be weird. Don't be
To
weird.
warrant the fear of the gods. The scythe could not be wielded by all beings, as in the hands of a mortal, its power will turn upon its wielder. The weapon inflicted bleed onto those who carry it, making it accessible only to beings powerful enough to bear that burden. For the chosen undead to access the painted world, they
Also,
would
to be clear, I'm like 99% sure Priscilla's a pass. And I said that when we fought her,
have to acquire a peculiar doll, likely the only remaining item to
which is
connect
actually what reminded me of it. The fact that y'all were like, Awooga, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, fucking, y'all are weird. I'm passing.
Priscilla to the real world. The doll reads, "There once was an abomination who had no place in this world. She clutched this doll tightly and eventually was drawn into a cult."
On the other hand, maybe you should smash her just as a like maybe she needs like company. Like she's an abomination who was in a lonely painted. No, maybe she needs like. Maybe you can fix her.
Old and lonely painted world. To obtain the doll, the chosen undead must return to where their pilgrimage began, the Northern Undead Asylum, only now hosting a stray demon since the previous guardian
Oh my
had been
god, remember
slaughtered.
this fight.
Moving forward, the chosen undead encounters an old ally, Oscar, Knight of Astora, the honorable warrior who rescued the chosen undead and set them off on their journey. Sadly, Oscar is no longer that person, as the despair of being unable to escape the asylum led to Oscar losing his sanity. Unable to overcome the very first obstacle he encountered, Oscar had lost all sense of self, and consequently turned hollow. The chosen undead is once again placed in a position where he must free a soul trapped in a hollow body. Following this demoralizing encounter, the chosen undead acquires the peculiar doll, now able to access the painted world of Ariamis. The painted world is undoubtedly associated with Valka, goddess of sin.
Yep,
She is described as a rogue god, whose duty was to define sin and
piece of
administer
armor
punishment accordingly.
says that.
She does, however, offer absolution through her pardoners, one being Oswald of Karim, who the chosen undead had already crossed paths with. Within the painted world, many items attributed to the goddess of sin can be found, one being the black cleric robe, described as a robe worn by pardoners serving Valka, the goddess of sin. The clerics also used Valka's.
It's just that somebody else said this, but the enemies in this area are what makes it so tough.
Rapier, further linking them to the goddess. The Ring of Sacrifice references a sacrificial rite of Valka, showing the extent of the influence she had on her followers. The influence extended beyond those who worshipped
These
her,
fuckers.
as the Vow of Silence explains that Valka is versed in arts both new and old, and is considered to have a great range of influence, even as gods are concerned. Whilst exploring the painted world, crow demons can be seen surrounding a dark ember, located on a petrified corpse of a blacksmith. Dark embers are used to ascend occult weapons. The fact that crows are a symbol of Valka, coupled with the knowledge that Valka's rapier is imbued with occult power, it is highly possible that Valka was to some degree involved with the occult rebellion. Her betrayal of the gods could be why she's referred to as a rogue deity.
Oh my god, remember this
To
puzzle?
prevent further rebellions against the gods, at a point in time, the church long hid the forbidden black ember, and no living blacksmith knows of it. Reaching the finale of the painted world, the chosen undead approaches crossbreed Priscilla, residing in an arena at the end of a partially destroyed bridge. Not knowing the trespasser's intentions, she remains non-hostile, and offers the chosen undead a chance to leave her world, to avoid conflict.
Who art thou? One of us thou art not. If thou hast misstepped into this world, plunge down from the plank and hurry home. If thou
Sounds good,
seekest
Zach.
I, thine desires shall be requited not. Thou must returneth whence thou came. This land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind, but thou dost not belong. I beg of thee, plunge down from the plank and hurry home.
Ignorant to what had become of the painted world, she pleads that this land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind, contradicting the residents' actions towards the chosen undead. Perhaps the residents are peaceful, but see the outsider as a threat, and so they collectively fight to protect Priscilla by attacking the chosen undead at every opportunity. Although Priscilla had been living in solitude for centuries, confining herself to the tower, her intentions remain pure, as in her eyes, her world still serves the purpose it had initially set out to fulfill.
Okay, we should have spoilers in like 20 seconds.
It is now up to the chosen undead. Do they put an end to the painted world that had long protected those who were cast out, or leave the residents to exist in peace, as what resides in the painting is no business of the undead anyway?
Why could thou not let us be? Didst thou not see why Ariamis created this world?
Cool, that's spoilers. 109:38. Oh, I was right there. Go. Chapter 5, The Lord Vessel.
Now that the Lord Vessel has been obtained, the chosen undead can continue their journey. In Firelink Shrine, a primordial serpent named Kingseeker Framt appears, who reveals the following.
As Kingseeker, I shall now instruct you, the Lord's successor,
Framps.
in your next task. To achieve your fate, commensurate to the great soul of Gwyn, scarce few possess such brilliant souls. Grave Lord Nito, the Witch of Izalith, the 4 kings of New Londo, who inherited the shards of Gwyn's soul, and Lord Gwyn's former confidant, Seath the Scaleless. All of their souls are required to satiate the Lord Vessel.
Here we learn that the Lord Vessel must be utilised in order to link the fire. Framp's goal is to seek a king, someone who will link the flame and extend the Age of Fire, in the name of Gwyn. However, there is another path. Darkstalker Karth also requires...
This is blowing my mind, but I wonder if a lot of people found out about this from this video.
as the Lord Vessel and the Chosen Undead's help, but not to link the fire, but to let the flame fade instead. At first glance it appears that Framps represents the light, the fire and the gods, whereas Karth symbolises the dark, humanity, and the plan to end the fading age of gods. The serpents are inexplicably linked to the conclusion of the Chosen Undead's fate. To obtain a Soul of Lords is no easy task, as the Chosen Undead will have to slay the very beings that overthrew the Everlasting Dragons, as well as venture into the Abyss itself. Seath, the Scaleless, resides in the Duke's Archives, a landmark situated high above. Its elevated position can be seen from the Undead Parish. The Duke's Archives, as the name suggests, is a large library, housing many books and artifacts, a paradise for a scholar like Seath. In his never-ending hunt for immortality, when the Chosen Undead encounters the Pale Dragon for the first time, he appears to be invincible, immune to all forms of offense, suggesting he had discovered the secret to immortality. As a result, the Chosen Undead falls and wakes up in a cell. Here lies the abducted victims of Seath's experiment.
What a cruel area. This might be one of my least favorite areas in the game too.
The six-eyed channelers would aid Seath
These
in abducting
fuckers.
residents of Lordran, forcing them to become test subjects. Considering Seath was blind, Channelers' helms were adorned with 6 eyes arranged in 2 vertical columns, as this compensated for Seath's lack of sight. In order to keep the abductees from leaving, the Man-Serpents were stationed as guards. In addition, the archives were converted into a prison, as confirmed by
I made so many shads that day when I just kept losing fights.
the Archive Tower Selkie. The Archive Tower, once a trove of precious tomes and letters, became a prison after the onset of Seath's madness.
My hot take on this area is that it is incredibly cool, thematically, lore-wise. Like, it's one of the coolest areas in that way. It's just so... I just disliked fighting in it and progressing through it and fighting a boss that I could be only to get imprisoned and then stuck.
Interesting that Seath had lost his sanity after discovering immortality. Furthermore, the Archive Giant Selkie states, the giant cell once imprisoned countless maidens, but is now empty, save for a few key persons. The maidens referred to here are most likely the Pisakas. Although several of the Pisakas are hostile, 2 can be found, weeping in a corner, who will only retaliate when harmed. When slain, these 2 will drop the miracles Soothing Sunlight and Bountiful Sunlight. According to the description of the items, these were the miracles of Guinevere, suggesting that the Pisakas were once maidens to the daughter of Gwyn. This also explains why a 6-eyed channeler is stationed in the Undead Parish, as many maidens would pass through the church. Big Hat Logan appears to be amongst the prisoners of the Archive. First, he was caught in Sen's Fortress, and it appears he has been captured once again. Once freed, Logan will move deeper into the library. Logan comments on the cruel experiments conducted by Seath, stating that all progress demands sacrifice.
The Archives is very punishing, yes.
Appearing to be in support of his actions, if the ends justify the means. He will now...
And I hadn't pieced together that Seath was seeking immortality and therefore was immortal in that fight. I had not pieced that together, obviously, for the first 6 times I died to him.
Now sell crystal sorceries to the Chosen Undead, boosted sorceries created with his newfound knowledge. He then unveils a secret to Seath's immortality.
Ah, the secret of Seath's immortality. If you have fought him and were in prison, you must know that Seath is a true undead.
Man, it would have been nice if I'd have got this information from Logan. Too bad I didn't free him from Sen's Fortress.
Different from ourselves. His wounds close promptly, and no mortal blow affects him, granting true insulation from death. It is an effect of the primordial crystal, a sacred treasure pillaged by Seath when he turned upon the ancient dragons. So only by destroying the primordial crystal can you so much as scratch his hide. And it so happens the primordial crystal is in the inner garden of these very archives, the Crystal Forest.
Should the Chosen Undead acquire all of the sorceries on offer, Big Hat Logan will say the following.
Who are you? Stay clear of my work. Curses upon you. How dare you disturb me?
Whatever Logan learned in the Duke's archives drove him mad, as the knowledge he gained was too much to bear. He then navigates back to the first area, where Seath was encountered. Here it appears that Logan has lost his sanity, stripped of his clothing and fighting like a madman. It should be noted that Logan is not hollow here, but instead has actually lost his sanity. Just as Seath went mad after obtaining immortality, so did Big Cat Logan, only his pursuit was for sorcery and spells, a woeful end to the famous sorcerer. Leaving the archives behind, the chosen undead navigates through a small crystal forest. Here, we see...
Wait, can you go back up the tower and fight Seath even though he's immortal? What do you mean, after breaking the primordial crystal? The good news is the primordial crystal is in his boss arena, so I don't think you can. Like, you have... Do you mean, can you just run back up and keep fighting him up there? Yeah, I did it 6 different times. But you can't, like, break the primordial crystal and then rather than fight him downstairs, go upstairs, if that's what you're asking. Because I think it's in the arena.
See crystal golems scattered around the area.
The hat
One
stays
of the
on.
golems in particular is golden in colour, identical to another in Darkroot Basin. Once killed, a knight in a set of Katarina armour appears and states,
"It was you who rescued me."
This blows my mind.
Thank you. Oh,
A second
have you
Sieg.
seen my father? You wouldn't miss him. A suit of armour just like mine.
If the chosen undead says yes, she'll say the following.
Thank goodness. I knew he was here somewhere. Well then, now I must find him. Thanks again, truly.
Sieglind is in pursuit of her father, Siegmeyer. Why she is doing this, we cannot know at this time. Now in the crystal caves, the chosen undead encounters moonlight butterflies and more crystal golems. It is worth noting that these creations of Seath can also be found in Darkroot Basin. This is due to his interest towards Ulasil sorcery, as Ulasil became Darkroot Basin over time. Eventually, the chosen undead confront Seath the Scaleless. Only this time, it appears that the chosen undead has stumbled across something of importance to Seath. So valuable is this item that Seath descends into the caves to protect it. In this room lies the primordial crystal, the secret of Seath's immortality. This object granted him the long life he desired. He was envious of the other dragons and their everlasting lifespan. However, with this crystal, he could replicate the immortality provided.
Zach says I should have skipped doing the NPC side quests since they're getting covered here. You gave a lot more depth, which I really appreciated.
Provided by the stone dragon scales. Using the knowledge obtained from Big Hat Logan, the chosen undead shatters the primordial crystal, turning Seath into a mortal. Should the chosen undead sever the tail of the beast, the moonlight greatsword will fall into their possession. The description of the sword notes that Seath is the grandfather of sorcery, making it clear as to why Big Hat Logan had a particular interest in Seath. It is also worth mentioning that sorceries, such as the Soul Arrow spell, are particularly effective against the stone scales of dragons, hinting that Seath pioneered sorcery to aid in the slaughter of his own kind. No wonder the scholar sorcerers of Vinheim named their dragon school of sorcery the Vinheim Dragon School. The chosen undead then slays the pale dragon, and obtains the bequeathed Lord Soul Shard given to
The chosen undead then slays the dragon? Do I? Or do I die? Oh, I don't know. 9 times, then do it.
Him by Gwyn. We now move to New Londo ruins to acquire the next Lord Soul. Before crossing the bridge, a hollow in chainmail armor can be seen. This hollow is the crestfallen warrior from Firelink Shrine.
Silver morph suit.
As he was sick of the smell produced by the serpent's framps. It seems that during his investigation to uncover the source of the smell, he turned hollow. Ironic that once he had somewhat a purpose, he lost his will to live. Moreover, several hollows can be seen worshipping something. Upon closer inspection, we can see that they are kneeling before the sunlight.
Havel's set is dragon scales? I don't think that's true. I think Havel's set is made of rock, right? But his weapon is a dragon's tooth. Is that correct?
Emanating from a small crevice above, potentially signifying their devotion to the light, to Lord Gwyn. Exploring deeper in New Londo ruins, a chosen undead discovers ghosts haunting the area. These ghosts can only be engaged when consuming a transient curse, as the only way to fight back against ghosts, who are cursed beings, is to become cursed yourself.
Has anyone figured out why Mossbag has this strange accent all of a sudden? This is what waiting for Silksong will do to a motherfucker.
Some of these ghosts can be seen holding babies and can cast lightning, miracles similar to Gwyn's bolts. Eventually, the chosen undead will come across a sealer known as Ingward.
Ingvard!
New Londo was sacrificed to contain
My favorite voice acting in the game, probably.
the Dark Wraiths. Mark my words, the Dark Wraiths are the enemies of man and any living thing that has a soul. They were never meant to roam again. The Four Kings slumber.
The chosen undead then goes around to every other place in Lord Ran and only comes back to Seath when there's nothing else left to do. Because he figures, well, I guess the way forward must be over here.
In the deepest chamber of the ruins,
Use this key to break the seal.
The chosen undead dies to gravity. The chosen undead dies to gravity again. The chosen undead somehow still dies to gravity.
And open the floodgates. Oh, and do not forget, the dark wraiths reside in a dark void called the Abyss. But the Abyss is no place for ordinary mortals. Although, long ago, the knight Artorius traversed the Abyss. If you can find him and learn from him, the Abyss may prove surmountable.
Which points you to the ring that you get from
Ingrid seems to think that Artorius is alive, a testament to how his true fate was erased from history. His dialogue also brings much needed clarity to the state of New Londo. But what exactly caused the city and its residents to descend into the dark? Ingrid answers this also.
When an evil serpent dangled the art of life drain before them, they were unable to resist and became pawns of evil.
Inspired by Anor Londo, the city was a home for the undead. Interestingly, the inhabitants of the city appear to respect the goddess of sin, Velka, as seen with the statues and items found throughout the ruins. Strange that the four kings may have potentially worshipped Velka, a goddess who was shunned by the other gods, whose mention was mostly confined to the painted world. Nevertheless, the city was ruled by the four kings who fell to the dark. It seems that the four kings were accepting of the power bestowed upon them by Gwyn. Gwyn most likely did not provide the four kings a piece of the Lord Soul out of generosity, but as a means to turn them to his side. Perhaps he knew of the rebellion brewing, how the four kings may have wanted to rid the world of gods by utilizing the dark. Luckily, it was possible to flood New Londo entirely, should an uprising need to be quelled. Or perhaps it wasn't luck at all, and Gwyn had this purposely installed. It is doubtful that New Londo was created without Gwyn's consent. It was inspired by his city after all. Despite having received the bequeathed Lord Soul shard, the kings were still tempted by the power of the dark. The spread of the dark gave rise to the Dark Wraiths, warriors who were once the knights of the four kings. Their armor appears to have crow feathers interwoven, another symbol of Velka. As always, when the Abyss and the Dark are mentioned, Karth is never far behind. The four kings and their knights were enticed by the words of the Darkstalker. How could they not be? After all, New Londo was a city of humans, living under the gods in an age which was rightfully theirs. Harnessing the power of the Dark Soul, the Dark Wraiths use the Life Drain ability to consume humanity from their enemies. Every Dark Wraith is part of a covenant of the same name, led by none other than the Darkstalker Karth. The power of Life Drain was feared by the gods, as evidenced by crossbreed Priscilla, who's locked away in the Painted World. This ability was taught to the Dark Wraiths and the Four Kings by Karth. It is possible that he learnt this power from Priscilla. Posing a significant threat, Ingrid and the other sealers flooded New Londo ruins, killing everyone within, including civilians. The aim was to submerge the Dark Wraiths and the Four Londo ruins, killing everyone.
What an absolutely cursed background this is. Jesus Christ.
Within, including civilians. The aim was to submerge the Dark Wraiths and the Four Kings underwater, as they were too dangerous to confront. Thousands of corpses can be seen throughout the haunted ruins, indicating the devastation that took place. The Mask of the Sealer states, Mask of the sorcerers who flooded New Londo to seal away the Dark Wraiths and the Four Kings, who descended into dark. It symbolizes their resolve to keep the seal shut forever, and their atonements for all who were sacrificed. But two of the three forsook New Londo upon tiring of their duty. Interestingly, it appears that there were two additional sealers who abandoned their duties. One's attire can be found in Blighttown, the other can be seen.
Background, no, that's the flooring. Yeah, that like texture being like spread out over the entire floor. Oh, ugh.
Accompanying Lautrec and Anor Londo, the abandonment of their mask signifying their desertion. Ingrid will then provide the chosen undead with the key to the seal to open the floodgates and drain the city, gaining access to the Four Kings. The key states, the sealers flooded New Londo to banish the Dark Wraiths and the Four Kings. The agonizing decision was made with the realization that countless lives and the robust culture of the city would be lost. The victims now roam the ruins as ghosts. With the Covenant of Artorius in hand, the Chosen Undead descends into the Abyss, a familiar place. Here the Chosen Undead comes face to face with the Four Kings and defeats them. The once noble kings of New Londo are nothing but a memory. With the Four Kings bested,
sorry, what did that say?
And defeats them into the Abyss, a familiar place. Here the Chosen Undead comes face to face with the Four Kings and defeats them.
Nope. Here the Chosen Undead comes face to face with the Four Kings, then spends an hour and a half arguing about whether or not bacon burgers are their own category of food, and then defeats them.
Once noble kings of New Londo are nothing but a memory. With the Four Kings bested, Karth makes an appearance for the first time. He departs some wisdom unto the Chosen Undead.
I can guide thee and illuminate the truth. Undead warrior, conqueror of the Four Kings, is this not your wish? To know the truth of men and the undead? The truth I shall share without sentiment. After the advent of fire, the ancient lords found the three souls, But your progenitor found a fourth, unique soul, the Dark Soul. Your ancestor claimed the Dark Soul and waited for fire to subside. And soon the flames did fade, and only dark remained. Thus began the Age of Men, the Age of Dark. However, Lord Gwyn trembled at the dark, clinging to his Age of Fire and in dire fear of humans, and the Dark Lord who would one day be born amongst them. Lord Gwyn resisted the course of nature by sacrificing himself to link the fire and commanding his children to shepherd the humans. Gwyn has blurred your past to prevent the birth of the Dark Lord. I am the primordial serpent. I seek to right the wrongs of the past, to discover our true Lord. But the other serpent, Frampt, lost his sense and befriended Lord Gwyn. Undead warrior, we stand at a cross.
How do you think primordial serpents do their business together?
Roads. Only I know the truth about your fate. You must destroy the fate.
Because they must. There's more than just Frampt. Frampt was not just like Loch Ness created, out of nothing, only one of their kind. There's two. In fact, there's many.
Lord Gwyn, who has coddled fire
Ryan?
and
What?
resisted nature, and become
I'm curious.
the fourth Lord, so that you may usher in an age of dark.
Karth provides an alternate objective to Kingseeker Frampt. To reach
Mitosis.
Frampt states that the fate of an undead is to succeed Gwyn and extend the Age of Fire, but Karth reveals that this is a lie, a ploy from the gods to extend their age, to prevent the Age of Dark, also known as the Age of Humanity, a predicament indeed for the chosen undead. The chosen undead descends into the catacombs, located past the graveyard in Firelink Shrine. Skeletons inhabit the majority of the catacombs and can only be slain with either a divine weapon or by killing the necromancer that raises them. During the descent into the tombs, the chosen undead comes across trusty Patches. Lautrec warned the chosen undead previously that Patches is not to be trusted. He's a mischievous swindler who'll stop at nothing to get the treasures he desires. Speaking to Patches reveals that he has a particular disdain towards clerics. Regardless, Patches will attempt to kill the chosen undead by flipping a bridge whilst they are still on it. Having survived this, the chosen undead can approach Patches, who will feign ignorance and give the chosen undead a soul of a lost undead, compensation for a crime he apparently
This is
did
what
not
Zach
commit.
showed us
However,
earlier.
This is
It's so fucking funny.
not the last we see of trusty
When's
Patches.
the next skip? Not until 2:05.
Further down, the chosen undead encounters a blacksmith called Vamos. He appears to be a very reclusive smith,
Vamos.
so reclusive in fact that no one else acknowledges his existence. Obsessed with his work, Vamos has little time for conversation. Although not much is known about this mysterious figure, the royal helm states, the helm is believed to belong to an ancient royal line, but only Vamos would know for sure, and he shall never speak again. Unfortunately, Vamos has chosen to never speak of this, and so not much is known about the skeletal blacksmith. Deeper still lies a large coffin housing an entity known as Pinwheel. It appears that this being has 3 heads and 6 arms. When the chosen undead confronts Pinwheel, the heads appear to gaze at each other as if they are deciding the fate of the chosen undead. Pinwheel turns hostile and prepares for battle. The creature is
I never pieced that together, that they're looking at each other. They're conversing. They're consulting.
strangely fragile and falls with relative ease. Upon his death, he will either drop the mask of the father, mother, or child. The masks state that Pinwheel was a necromancer who stole the power of the Gravelord and reigns over the catacombs. Pinwheel also drops one additional item, the Rite of Kindling. The description states this secret rite allows bonfires to be bolstered further with kindling, so that even more Estus can be collected. How peculiar that humans had found little use for humanity until they turned undead. The 3 masks worn by Pinwheel suggest that the frame is a combination of 3 bodies and minds. One theory is that Pinwheel was once a family that somehow fused together. Perhaps one of the family members died, and in an attempt to bring them back to life, they stole the power of the Gravelord and tried to revive their deceased loved ones. However, this resulted in a morbid resurrection. Surrounding Pinwheel is a vast collection of books and skeletons, all of which are ensnared in chains. One can even be seen laying on the operating table, almost as if the chosen undead had interrupted an experiment of some kind. Potentially, Pinwheel resurrected his family, but was finding a way to separate the 3 fused bodies to complete the process of resurrection. The Mask of the Father raises equipment load, representing how the father metaphorically, or perhaps even quite literally as Pinwheel, carried his family. The Mask of the Mother raises health, symbolizing how she raised the morale of the family. Lastly, the Mask of the Child raises the speed at which stamina is recovered, a symbol of a child's energetic nature. Pinwheel also appears to be someone of importance to Nito, as statues of him can be seen throughout the area. An empty coffin is also located next to Nito, suggesting that Pinwheel may have been the highest rank amongst those in the tombs. Another, more compelling theory also exists. The effigy's shield states, the followers of the occult once attempted to steal the power of the Gravelord, the first of the dead. Of course, we now know that Pinwheel was indeed successful in stealing the power of the Gravelord. Could it be that he was one of the leaders of the occult? Nito may have developed the...
When was this video made? It says August 8th, 2021 is when it was released.
Rites of kindling in order to bolster the bonfires, as extending the Age of Fire would lead to the undead sacrificing themselves, leading to more deaths, which was his domain. The Way of White may have utilised this as well, in worship of Gwyn. Through this meticulous plan, Gwyn could continue to rule over the light, while Nito ruled over death. The Way of White was assisting Nito in
vast collection of books and skeletons is somehow funny to me.
It is worth noting that Paladin Leroy, the
like
first undead produced by the Way of White, assists the chosen undead in slaying Pinwheel, but will defend Nito, suggesting that he was only aiding in the retrieval of the rites of kindling. The rites also suggest that Gwyn and Nito worked together to ensure the Age of Fire would never end, further enforced by the existence of bonfires, which are created with the bones of the undead, a masterful plan to fool humanity into fueling the Age of Fire. No wonder that Pinwheel decided to steal the secret rites in order to prevent further kindling and ultimately to let the fires
This is way more thought than I gave to a boss that I killed in 30 seconds.
fade. Perhaps this is why he conducts experiments on the skeletons, to better understand the process of death. At this point, the chosen undead discovers the Tomb of the Giants, a pitch-black cavern filled with large skeletons. From this cavern, we can see Lot Islith in the distance. It is here that the chosen undead bumps into Patches once more. Yet again, he tricks the chosen and sends them spiraling into a ditch. In this hole, we discover Rhea of Thurland, as well as her two cleric knights, Vince and
Rhea.
Nico, both of which have become hollow and attack the chosen undead, who swiftly puts an end to them. Strangely, Petrus appears to be absent. Rhea, now saved, returns to Undead Parish. It seems her mission to obtain the rites of kindling has failed. If Patches is left alive, he will return to Firelink Shrine, where he will sell all types of trinkets, including the armor worn by Vince and Nico. Patches will also warn the chosen undead about Petrus.
Wait, have you met Petrus? That self-proclaimed cleric? Believe me on this one, bruv. The man is scum.
Believe me this
Don't
one,
you
bruv.
be fooled by his claims to do good. They're all the same, those
Lore
rotten
stream.
clerics.
Rhea, at this point, can be discovered in the Undead Parish, where she is grateful to her saviour and offers to sell miracles. If Petrus is informed of the rescue, he will state,
Oh, it's you. You rescued, milady. Well, a pity that is, for it will amount to nothing, for the little madam is not worth her salt without her family name.
This piece of dialogue foreshadows the event.
What? Did I get that dialogue, chat? Front seat question, yes or no? Did I get that dialogue? Does he go kill her? A pity. You used to be obsessed with her.
Events to come. As if left to his own devices, Petrus will venture into the Undead Parish
Kill
and
her.
murder Rhea. On the other hand, if
Shit! That explains why they were saying in the other video about Petrus being a dickhole.
Petrus is killed after Rhea is saved, she will survive.
Oh!
There is also one other
That's why she didn't survive.
path. If the chosen undead acquires all the items Rhea has to offer, she will be kidnapped and taken to the Duke's archives, where it is discovered that she has become hollow. Sadly, the chosen undead could not save her, but at least they could grant Rhea her final wish.
Barry Bolka ends up killing... Barry Bolka kills Rhea? I know she was dead, but I didn't get that dialogue line about him calling her, It's saying a pity she was rescued. Huh.
Sadly, the chosen undead could not save her, but at least they could grant Rhea her final wish.
If I do go hollow...
God, this is why we do lore streams. My entire... Bullcut Barry was like my guy. He was not a good guy. I thought he was, though. I mean, it shows you my judgment, but I thought he was a good guy.
Then finish me off, I beg of you.
It seems the pilgrimage he was ordained to complete was doomed from the beginning. Finally, the chosen undead can confront Gravelord Nito, the first of the dead. He appears to be coated in humanity, a hint to his goals of absorbing the power of the undead and working with Gwyn to suppress the human race. Just like any other lord, Gravelord Nito falls, and so his soul falls into the possession of the chosen undead. The very
covered in humanity. Interesting. I didn't think of that either.
being that administers death to the world, had fallen. Much of Nito's Lord Soul was offered to death, yet it remains powerful enough to satiate the Lord Vessel. Many years later, the Milfinito and Finito...
I don't know what that means, but I'm going to skip it because I don't know what that means. We're just going to go forward a couple things. I don't know what those words means. Just in case we might miss a little something.
City was ruled by the Witch of Izalith, along with her daughters of Chaos. As mentioned previously, Lost Izalith has now become the birthplace of demons, a result of the witch who in
This
her
is the area you guys don't like? Lost Izalith? I feel like the Tomb of the Undead or whatever and the Painted World of Ariamis are terrible.
Tried to create another First Flame. Ironic that the Witch of Izalith was able to create new life, only this life was demonic and volatile.
Is that why they're here? The Witch of Izalith creates new life, and that's why Taurus Demon or Taurus Capra, this one, is here, and therefore the demons are birthed here.
Or was it? The demons of Izalith seem intelligent, as if they had carved out their own civilization in Lordran. Each demon has their role, working together to ensure the survival of their race, and defend their mother, the Witch of Izalith. Yet again, Gwyn's involvement may have played a role. Perhaps Izalith was a stable society of demons, before Gwyn dispatched his legion...
that said, I do hate this little back path, and I hate these guys. Okay, yeah, maybe. This area does suck.
Black Knights, initiating the Demon War. One way or another, the war concluded, and Gwyn placed demons in his ranks, acting as transporters and jailers. This also raises an important question. If Gwyn never went to war with the demons, would they have ever posed a threat to his reign? Nevertheless, the Chosen Undead continues. Strangely, a centipede-like demon can be seen stalking the Chosen, a hint for the fight ahead. As the Chosen Undead navigates deeper into Lost Izalith, they come across the Demon Fire Sage, a creature very similar to the Asylum and Stray Demon. The Demon Fire Sage was the first demon and the last master of the original fire arts before the Witch of Izalith was engulfed by the chaos, creating pyromancy. After defeating the Fire Sage, the Chosen Undead encounters the Centipede Demon. Upon slaying the demon, the Chosen receives an orange charred ring, which states that the Ceaseless Discharge was a fool, who readily dropped the ring, and from that spot, a terrible Centipede Demon was born, explaining why it is dropped by the demon upon its death. Further ahead, the Chosen Undead reunites with Solaire, only this time his mind seems very far away. He states,
Why? Why? After all this searching,
Why?
I still cannot find it.
Of course, he's referring to the sun, which he had been chasing ever since he set foot in Lordran. After navigating through the lava
Buddy, you're getting further and further from the sun.
Fields, we witness Solaire for the last time, with a parasitic organism embedded into his brain. He swings wildly, claiming that he had finally discovered his very own son.
It is really cool that you can save him.
I have. My very own son. I am the son. I've done it. I have. Yes, I did it. I did.
The Chosen Undead has no choice but to put the once joyous knight out of his misery.
It's over. My son. It's setting. It's dark. So dark.
Things could have turned out differently, however. Should the Chosen Undead choose to become a servant of chaos, they can unlock a shortcut into...
I'm going to skip this because we learned about this.
Have I done this all for nothing? Oh, my...
Advancing further into Lost Izalith, the Chosen Undead encounters Siegmeyer.
No, don't tell me.
Okay.
Those monsters making life
This is probably how to save Siegmeyer. We also watched this. If you're watching this on YouTube, we already watched a video where we learned how to save Siegmeyer, so I'm probably going to skip this as well.
You need not be ashamed. We're all in the same boat. I really have run up quite a debt to you. Perhaps the time has come.
Two choices lay before the Chosen Undead. They can slay all the Chaos Eaters and then speak with
Yep.
The Chosen Undead fall. The comes across the body of Siegmeyer.
More trouble.
Oh, I can't watch this again. It's going to make me cry. Ah!
Oh, Father. Dear Father.
Fortunately, was able to do so, before forcibly putting her Hollow Father to rest. His hollow state is a result of the Chosen Undead's continuous aid. Although they had saved Siegmeyer on several occasions, they unknowingly stripped the brave and honourable knight of his purpose. What good was he to anyone if he could not solve his own problems?
Don't put this on me. I didn't strip him of his purpose. He was inept.
Slay any creature alone. This dampened the morale of the Katarina Knight. His honour was no longer intact, and his worth as a knight dwindled in his mind. Siegmeyer, having lost his purpose and the will to live, became hollow. Returning to Izalith, the Chosen Undead edges closer to the witch. However, several obstacles remain. Firstly, a daughter of chaos, utilizing devastating pyromancies, defends the entrance to her mother's lair. This individual is unveiled to be the eldest daughter of chaos, revealed by her chaos fire with pyromancy, which states that it was
So this is one of the 7?
Wielded by the eldest of the Daughters of Chaos. During this fight, the Knight of Thorns, Kirk, can also invade this realm. After quickly dispatching the daughter, the Chosen Undead then deals with the Knight. He first invaded in the depths, and then again in the Demon Ruins. This invader, who had plagued the Undead's journey, is slain for the last time. His final resting place lies
I never saw any invaders.
in Quelaag's domain, near the Fair Lady. His armor reveals that Kirk was a notorious member of the
I don't think, right?
Dark Wraiths. Kirk is
It's
also
an online
described as
thing?
being murderous. Despite this, somewhere along his path, Kirk devoted himself to the servants of Chaos, utilizing his strength as a Dark Wraith to pillage humanity and gift it to the Fair Lady. Why he did this is unknown. Either way, he had some sort of affinity towards the Daughter of Chaos.
Oh, I was invaded by Kirk in the depths once.
The path now cleared, the Chosen Undead descends into the lair of the Witch of Izalith. Here we see the face of the once great witch. She has mutated into a tree-like creature, titled the Bed of Chaos. 2 seeds can be seen laying on either side of the Bed of Chaos, which could possibly be 2 of her daughters. Perhaps these 2 were the closest in proximity to the witch, when she attempted to create an artificial first flame. Destroying the 2 seeds reveals a path to the core of the Bed of Chaos. Slashing through the branches, a small parasite is discovered within. This
Best boss
creature
in the
is
game.
all that is left of the Witch of Izalith. The Chosen Undead slays the creature with a single stroke,
Best
and
boss
chaos
design.
is unleashed. Chaos, which would spiral out of control and eventually go on to consume the Ivory King.
That seems like something that I'm not supposed to look at.
And with that,
NPCs can invade you as well as players. Ulasil and the Abyss. DLC time.
to tell the tale of the Abyss, we must first travel back in time, centuries ago, to a
Time
land
travel.
called Ulasil, an ancient land of sorceries swallowed by the Abyss. The Enchanted Ember, a vestige of the lost land of Ulasil, suggests that the once great city had fallen. During the Chosen Undead's journey,
Here's the other option. We could skip the DLC part. Oh. I'm sure we would be missing some cool stuff. I'm sure we would. I'm going to make an executive decision. You may not agree with it, and I apologize if you do. But if you really want to see the DLC section of this, go watch it on the Brothers Code video. I'm going to. Can we come back to this tomorrow? No, we're just gonna go to the end and watch that, and then we're gonna be done. That's what we're gonna do. I wanna finish this today, and I want to wrap it all up today. But we're gonna skip the DLC part here. Maybe I'll watch it on my own time. Zach says there are some spoilers around this area, but we're gonna go to chapter 7. No, we're just gonna skip ahead today. Not because I don't care about the DLC. I care about it a ton. I'm just pressed a little thin. This is the decision we're gonna do. If you want to watch it, go for it. I'm not gonna watch it right now during this video. All right, let's do this.
the Chosen Undead's pilgrimage is
Next spoiler is at 2:05:27. It's a visual spoiler, so we're just gonna scroll down.
close to its end. Offering the Lord Souls to the vessel results in the opening of a gateway. A blinding white light beckons the Chosen Undead. Here lies the final gauntlet. A myriad of phantom knights patrol the entrance, but pose no threat. The souls of those who are disembodied by the flame. Crossing this stairway leads to the kiln of the first flame, a wasteland coated in ash, evidence of the ferocity at which the flame once burnt. Black Knights defend the area, however, they pose little threat to the Chosen Undead, the Slayer of Lords. These knights were stationed to protect Gwyn as
I don't know. I think I died to a couple of them.
he linked the flame. On a narrow bridge, a suit of Black Knight's armor can be obtained. The knights followed Lord Gwyn when he departed to link the flame, but they were burned to ashes in newly kindled fire, wandering the world as disembodied spirits ever after. Delving deeper, a golden summoning sign can be seen before the final gate. This sign belongs to Solaire. Although he could not discover his own son, he pressed on. As an undead, just like
We did not get the chance to do this because we didn't save him.
many others, he would conclude his pilgrimage by setting himself ablaze. All that remains is to venture through the fog one last time, to face the Lord of Sunlight himself. At the heart of the kiln, next to the fabled first flame, stands Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder.
Motherfucking
For only cinders remain of the
Gwyn.
once great Lord. His appearance is
I've been really looking forward to what they say about Gwen.
representative of the sacrifice he made and the depths to which he delved to keep the
Spoilers now.
flame from extinguishing, his family splintered, and his firstborn banished. Gwyn had no choice but to link the fire with his own body, offering much of
Okay.
himself to the flame
Spoilers done.
resulted in him being stripped of his power and the decimation of his own army. His famous miracles of lightning are absent in this duel. The chosen undead.
I was wondering about this with the earlier thing about the lightning miracles. He doesn't use those during the fight. He just has the flaming sword.
Without Solaire's aid, would put an end to the Lord of Light. However, the machinations of Gwyn would continue through the ages, as many Lords of Cinder would continue to link the fading flame. Eventually, this would result in the creation of the Soul of Cinder, a physical manifestation of all
Just listening, we're skipping, I think.
did to mankind, and allow the flame to fade. Should the fire be linked, the chosen undead is consumed by the inferno, and their powerful soul fuels the fire for many ages hence. Should they choose to deviate from the undead pilgrimage, they can walk away from the flame, where
Become
many
the Dark
primordial
Lord.
serpents have gathered to greet the chosen undead. Among these serpents is Karth and Frampt. Strangely, Frampt kneels before the Dark Lord and offers their service, suggesting the serpent had a change of heart. Or perhaps Karth and Frampt were never truly rivals, and regardless of the outcome, they would benefit from the struggle of those around them, as these imperfect dragons appear to have outlasted the everlasting dragons and the gods themselves. Nonetheless, the chosen undead now rules as a Dark Lord, reigning over the approaching age of...
I think this next part is visual spoilers for like a minute and 20 seconds. So we're going to just watch the comments for a second.
Dark. How did the fate of Lordran come to this? Gwyn refused to let the Age of Fire end, and as a result, committed the first sin. By linking the fire and denying the transition of the ages, Gwyn halted the undeniable course of nature. The Age of Fire should never have been extended, yet it was. Even if the chosen undead rules over an Age of Dark, embers will always remain, and those faithful to the Lords will forever embark on a pilgrimage to link the first flame, resulting in a paradox. The Age of Fire can never truly end, and the Age of Dark can never prosper. The two struggle to coexist. Yet how can there be light without dark? Still, the Lord of Light tried to banish it. In the words of Karth, the furtive pygmy waited for the fire to dim, but this never occurred. But can we trust the word of the devious serpent? The cycle is infinite, a fabricated timeline of distortion. Even if the darkness settles, one day, tiny flames will dance across the darkness, like embers linked by the Lord's past. This world can no longer be inherited by humanity. Hopefully, one day, someone can paint a tranquil world for those who remain. In the constant battle between the light and the dark, perhaps we must ask ourselves what lies beyond it.
Exhilaration, pride, hatred.
Miracles like the lightning are literally stories that are chanted or invoked by the caster to pull upon the heroic deed that birthed the spell. Gwyn is a mindless ashen husk by the end that probably can't even speak. Makes sense that he never casts a miracle. Yeah. The lack of Dark Souls 1 exclusive lore is so strange and annoying. Zach, I am amazed that you managed to find something this mostly Dark Souls 1 exclusive. Because, yeah. It's also like, it probably has something to do with the era of YouTube, right? Like, Dark Souls is popular, became...
Thank you for this amazing playthrough,
Aww.
Ryan. It's been a rough week, but this lore stream has made my day.
Thank you,
With a little
McBell.
heart.
Thank you. Little into hearts to you. I'm sorry it's been a hard week. I wonder if it's like, I wonder if we had video essays of the same length and quality back in 2011, if you would be able to find videos that existed. I also don't know if I need to be listening to this NPC or not, you know, because it kind of sounds like a person I've never heard before. Now be prepared to unconsciously compare this game to everything you play moving forward. I'll probably consciously compare it to a lot.
Rage.
You have?
The dragons teased out our dearest emotions. Lead thy life as thou seest fit. Farewell, human.
Oh, I love that they
Regrettably,
choose that.
I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. Well, now you know. And I can die with hope in my heart.
If you require rest, now is the time. That is, after all, what the bonfire is for.
When I gave you that flame, I gave you a part of myself. Please take good care of it. Be safe, friend. Don't you dare go hollow.
Don't you dare go hollow.
Save us all. Please.
Oh, it's over.
We're in the middle of some really deep and emotional moments here, like really just like hitting us right, pulling our heartstrings, and then Solaire's out here coming at the sun. Did you hear that?
Oh.
over. My sun. It's setting.
Bye, Danny.
It's dark. So dark. Was it all a lie? Have I done this all for nothing?
Well, you saved me once again. Dear me, what can I say? I have failed you. My daughter risked life and limb just to find me. Heavens, I never asked her to do that.
Mother's ambitions were misguided, no doubt. But surely 1,000 years of atonement is enough. Farewell, my mother, my sisters.
Please, sister, do not cry. I am happy, really. I have you, don't I?
I beg of the spread of the abyss must be stopped.
The breaking of curses is the territory of deities.
What a journey, now Dark Souls 3. Excuse me, are you forgetting something? There's a number that comes after 1 before 3.
You must be prepared to give some of
Ryan,
yourself.
I didn't know it was spoilers.
Beyond the gleam of light, beyond the reach of love, what could possibly await us? And yet we seek it insatiably. Such is our fate.
Thank you very much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed.
Shout out to them. Shout out to the brothers code, right? The brothers code. Shout out to them. Somebody said, Ryan, do you have questions left? Honestly, today's lore stream has answered a lot for me. Most of my questions were about family trees, the organization of like what became of the Witch of Izalith, who were the daughters of Izalith, the daughters of Chaos, like how are they related to each other? Was Quilana Quelag's daughter? That's mostly been answered. Gameplay mechanics, I never figured out a lot of things like how covenants work and what they do when you what happens when you offer up stuff to them. Zach answered that with his covenants video. Our NPC quests have now been fully fleshed out, and I now know the full story of Solaire and Siegmeyer and so many more. I'm sure I have a couple questions left. But like the overall, so many of the holes have been answered. Like so many of my questions are answered. Yeah. One question I still have it. Yeah. I'm not even going to ask that one because it's actually just a tiny little mechanical thing. Yeah, I think I would say that, yeah, my questions are answered. Like, when you piece together a story, one very convoluted item description at a time, and you get one of those items on Monday, and then you stream the game on Friday, and you get another item that's kind of related to it, that makes it very difficult to piece together an overarching fantasy lore story. Really difficult. But I think the game does a pretty good job of it, and this video did an incredible job at it. Shout out to them for making this video. I felt like I liked this lore video better than I have liked any of the lore videos that we've watched for any other games, other than maybe Mossback's lore video for Hollow Knight. That is a really good one. Was Ceaseless Discharge explained? It was, yeah. I now understand the origin of all of the demons, the origin of most of the bosses in the game. The way, I understand so much. Holy shit. Yeah. Shout out to the Brothers Code for this incredible video. Truly. That's gonna do it for our lore stream. Is there stuff we left? Stuff we didn't cover? Absolutely. But we squeezed as much as we possibly could into 4.5 hours today. That's for dang sure. And I need to get out of here and go coach a cross-country meet. I need to go tell some middle schoolers to run fast. We'll be back tomorrow to play Smash or Pass and do more. But until then, thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you're watching this on YouTube, we have an entire 80-something video series of Dark Souls videos of me reacting to this game completely without context. It's great. Thanks for watching. See ya!